This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
The month of February is a very special one. For those of us down here in Australia, we got the Bathurst 12 Hour, and for the stock car racing world, the month of February is truly a grand one because we've got the Daytona 500 here in the International Division of the Majors Series. This is one of the first big, huge races of the year, and it's the first time in the history of this division of the Majors Series that we've had to split the drivers into two servers. That's how many entries we've got for this one here on SimSpeed TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. Proud to be presenting on this platform. Reese Gardner here, joined by Jay Kennedy. Jay, Daytona time. I'm excited.
Helps if I turn my microphone on. I am as well, Reese. It's going to be an awesome night of racing. You know this is my favourite race of the year. We always talk about it every time the Daytona 500 rolls around, about either racing it or broadcasting it, and to do it for the Major Series once again, especially after the result we saw last year. Really looking forward to watching this play out and to see how many participants we've had turn out this week to try and make the grid. Just shows how much this series has grown in stature around the AusNZ sim racing community.
Absolutely. We've got some of the best numbers we've ever seen in splits for this series. I'll tell you what, a bunch of Gen 6 cars thundering around Daytona is something that I've certainly been looking forward to for the last couple of weeks, ever since the first round of the championship, which was also here at Daytona, but on the road course, the 2.4. And we saw some awesome performances in that one. But the oval circuit, is a whole different ball game.
Yep, it's one of the longest races we broadcast for the entire year. We think about the Bathurst 1000 and how long that takes. Well, this is almost the same distance in length, 805 kilometres, 500 miles. Should be over in between 3 and 4 hours, depending on how we go with caution periods. I think we will see a little bit less in regards to cautions from what we saw last year. Drivers have learnt a lot. Drivers had a lot more experience. Last year we saw a lot of drivers come out and race their first ever big oval race. A few more have had a bit more practice. A lot have gone through the duels just to make the grid this week. So it's going to mean that the quality of racing we will have tonight with the best we've ever seen here on SimSpeed TV.
Certainly, talking about the duels, drivers racing their way into a grid spot through those duels held for the last 3 days. For international competitors, until now, they haven't had to worry that much about splits, but it's been quite the build-up for those guys. They got to do a lot more than they probably would have initially thought to get into this one.
Yeah, 100%. And we saw up until about 5 or 6 hours before the broadcast, I think there was only 3 or 4 spots up for grabs from proper qualifying, so actually punching out the fastest lap times. So it's meant that the field is extremely stacked. The quality is so high, and looking through the names, it's a who's who of sim racing in Australia and New Zealand, and also we've got some big international names coming over as well. A lot of very experienced oval drivers racing tonight in both Australia and New Zealand, and also overseas. So it's going to be a really interesting mix of drivers. Some drivers who we know have got some great outright pace, very inexperienced on the oval side, but are really going to throw a bit of an extra curveball in the middle of the field. Looking forward to seeing how some of those guys go as well.
Yeah, certainly. Guys like John King, the guy who won the last Daytona 500 in the International Division. He is the reigning champion from last year's race. Talking of champions, though, a marked absence is the reigning champion of the series, Josh Nowak. It's his birthday, so he's having to miss this one. And Chris Norton, title contender last year, did not qualify for this split. So that's a couple of notable absences, which a lot of the guys in this field, they'll be scrambling to fill and get some valuable points.
Yeah, 100%. They'll be racing, Norton will be racing in a separate race, which is happening at the same time, not broadcast. So A little bit of different pressure for those guys. They lose the pressure of the broadcast, but they really have to get some big finishes. Really want to get a top 2, top 3 to make sure you get as many points as possible, because if you get a bad result today, your opponent gets a great result at the front of the field in this one. It's going to be a really, really tough start to the championship. Nowak, though, it's really, really tough for him to come back. I mean, we know we've got drop rounds, but to lose points early on in the season, especially in a race he did very, very well at last year, going to be tough for him to continue on and retake his title for 2019.
Yeah, certainly. And all happening at the start of this season, and it is a very long season indeed. We don't end up finishing up in this series until, I believe, November, December. It's quite the long series we've got here. Every round, of course, being presented on the iRacing Esports Network. You can see that at the bottom of the screen. Subscribe to this channel that it's being broadcast on right now. You will be able to get your fix of iRacing action, some of the best series on the sim being broadcast by the best broadcasting firms on iRacing, all here on the iRacing Esports Network. That's great.
Yeah, and it's a big weekend here on the iRacing Esports Network as well. Of course, the Bathurst 12-hour broadcast will start around about 6.5 hours time here on the iRacing Esports Network. Going to be an awesome night of racing. We saw some stacked grids or some stacked teams in that event. So make sure you do stay here on the iRacing Esports Network after our broadcast, because that won't be too far away. Afterwards, it's going to be a really, really cool 24 hours of racing with that and a few other broadcasts. But you can see the drivers are just starting to get out on the track now, because they've just completed their drivers briefing in the offices here at the Daytona International Speedway. Get some cars out on track, and we'll run through who we've got in this field, who to watch, who are the contenders, and who will be the dark horses.
Yes, indeed. So out on track at the moment, the quickest, the first out the pits is Scott Kukas in the number 85 machine, but just behind him in that 074 machine is Daryl Hockey, who currently has the fastest time in this practice session, 43.824, only 100th ahead of Daniel Stevens in the number 66. Even in the practice session, that just goes to show how small the gaps are at this track. Yeah, and the difference in time between one lap pace when you're out there by yourself and when you're in the draft in a big, massive pack of cars is incredible. It's about 3 seconds quicker in the draft. Top speeds are around about 25 to 30 kilometers faster when you're in the pack drafting away. So we're going to see a lot of drafting. We may not see as much side draft as we may have liked in previous years, but hearing reports that there are a couple of teams that have sort of worked out the side drafting very, very well, and we'll see a lot of drivers actually start to work together with their teammates to make things work. But the big thing that I know a lot of people have been practicing in this session and all throughout the weekend is green flag pit stops. If you can nail a green flag pit stop, pull up at the mark at the exact speed, get into the pit box without exceeding the speed limit, pull up on your marks perfectly and get out there and have someone to work with when you come out of the pits, that'll put you in good stead later on in the race. Potentially could be a race-winning move. Yeah, absolutely could. That's something that we really don't think about enough, those of us who aren't well versed in oval racing, is the power of the green flag pit stop. Because obviously Daytona being the super speedway that it is, we're looking at Jake Fox just demonstrating what the drivers are going to have to deal with in the race here. Lots of close pack racing here. The amount of cautions that happen at a track like this, it's not like your short track where every couple of laps someone's bumped around and the safety car comes out. These guys can race for laps at a time in these exact conditions, but with about 20 other cars around them. That's the kind of stuff that they got to deal with. So if you want to make a pit stop in those conditions that are going to go for the majority of the race, you have to get it right. You absolutely have to. Yeah, 100%. You really have to nail the pit entry as well. We see already in this warm-up or in this practice session, cars that have come into the pits and trying to get and absolutely nail that pit entry, use every single tenth that they can, and are absolutely exceeding it by a mile, putting it in the fence. So that'll then add a little bit of extra caution to those drivers that maybe haven't nailed it in practice. That could then leave them open to making big mistakes when it comes for the race, maybe even braking way too early and getting nailed from behind by guys that have practiced it a little bit better. So it's going to be really crucial. As we just see those guys that we were just watching there with Fox, Bo Albert, they're just making that outside work. They just loop around that pack that we were watching previous. I must say, coolest looking cars out on the grid. How good do those
MFR cars look there. The 66 on the outside, Daniel Stevens. Candy apple red looks absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely yummy looking livery. I love that. Awesome stuff. We've also got a couple of SimSpeed liveries out there.
No, we won't talk about those, boys.
Yeah, no, we won't. They're not going to be factors, surely. It's all about everyone else in this field that we want to talk about at the moment. Bo Albert in that 06 car. A couple of our resident commentators and racers here at SimSpeed have decided to band together under one team banner to compete in this series, the likes of Simon Mazzomo and Bo Albert. We take a look once again at Daryl Hockey as he goes across the line. That Dog Bear team, the number 85, Shane Bowen is in the 61, but it's that Dog Bear car. That team is one to look out for on the ovals. We should keep an eye on the likes of Scott Kukas.
Yeah, 100%. Dog Bear, always one to watch in this series. Oval racing is very much their forte, so watch out for those guys and see what they can do as they progress through this race. Should be very, very good to watch. We're going to see a lot of names that we haven't seen previous as well. A few international, we being the international split, but a few drivers from the America split coming over to race in the international split this weekend, which a little bit surprising to see, but same breath, I quite like that we're seeing a bit of a mixed up field and some different drivers that we don't normally see.
Yeah, exactly right. That's the beauty of this division of the Majors series. It doesn't just bring together the guys from the Oz NZ parts of the world. It also brings in people from California, from Asia Pacific, from even the likes of Central Asia. We could potentially see drivers competing from. So it really brings in a bunch of geographical diversity that we don't really get as much of in the other series we broadcast.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to see a huge mix-up of drivers, and he won't like for us to say this, but this is probably the favourite going into this race. Jason Martin, without a doubt, the best oval racer in Australia and New Zealand, has been for years and still is to this day. He will deny that absolutely 100%, but he definitely is one of the best, and you watch him nail his pen entry here. It's going to be absolutely perfect on the marks, pulls it up right on to the speed at the cones. That was a perfect pit entry.
Absolutely. You do anything as much as Jason Martin does ovals, and you will get absolutely fantastic at it. Jason Martin just bringing a little bit more of flair and commitment to his driving as well. There's a reason why he's so highly regarded in the Australian oval racing circle. But we ride on board with another Dog Bear guy. This is Drew Lalonde in the slipstream of the number 35. That one is Dean Palmer. So these two drafting together, almost getting onto the tri-oval apron. And am I correct in presuming that you are allowed to use that apron in the race?
You are allowed to use it, but you cannot pass below the yellow line. So you need to be careful making moves. If you're forced to go down there, obviously it's free game, but if you go down there to try and make a move below the yellow line, it is very, very frowned upon. So you need to be careful dropping below the yellow line, and we will see drivers drop down there at some point. It's almost bound to happen, but making sure you rejoin the track safely is quite difficult at this circuit. The shape of the tri-oval means, or the banking in the tri-oval means, that it's very, very tough to get yourself back up onto the circuit safe as well while you're doing so. So you probably want to stay away from that anyway. So we're not too far away from getting ready. Actually take the green flag. I'm getting very, very hyped and very excited.
Yeah, me too. These Gen 6 cars, they are as close to the current models of NASCAR that you will find racing out there on real life ovals, as close as you can possibly get at this current time. And as we go 3, 2, 1 into the race session, you'll get to see some of the craziest sim racers in the world tackle this amazing circuit. So really looking forward to seeing how they get off the virtual green flag. This is the grid, Jay. Starting on pole position, we have Jason Martin, Jake Fox following him on the second row, on the first row, sorry. Aaron Sadler and Daniel Stevens behind them with Eric Thorpe and Chris Purnell. Ryan Jones and John King, the reigning race winner. He starts on the fourth row. In ninth, we've got Dean Moll and Matt Muggleton rounding out the top 10 on row 5.
Row 6, we've got Will Leslie alongside him, Riley Curtis with Shane Bowen Scott Kougas on the next row, row 7. Row 8 is Dee Palmer and Simon Mazzomo. Row 9, Robert Northway and Matthew Clote. Row 10, Mariko Dutnak and Roger Clark. Roger Clark, another one to watch. Very, very good oval racer as well.
Yes, indeed. Drew Lalonde starting in the Dog Bear Blue, number 3. 21st place, James Robbie as well. Alex Sheridan and Cameron Dance on the 12th row there. Starting right behind them, we have got Gary LaViolette along with John Sorensen. Dave Douglas, Bo Albert, and Daryl Hockey rounding out this 29-car field as they are moving away from their starting spots in the pit lane. And they are going to form up behind the safety car, or, since we are in America land, the pace car.
Yeah, we can call it a pace car. We don't normally get to call it the pace car over here, do we? We get in trouble when you say pace car. It's a safety car, but we can say pace car tonight. Of course, 200 laps of racing, 500 miles ahead for the drivers, and 805 kilometres. Pit window around about 36 to 40 laps, depending on where you are in the pack. If you're at the front of the pack or you're by yourself, you're probably going to get about 36 laps. If you're in the middle of a big pack of cars, you can probably stretch it out to 40 laps. So we're going to see at least 4 pit stops from all of these drivers, probably closer to 5 or 6. We've got about 3 to 3.5 hours of racing ahead of us. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to it. This is the biggest race of the year for our oval side of things.
It absolutely is, and I cannot wait to see them take that green flag. So the big challenge there is to look to the end of the race. If you are able to get a pit stop in the window towards the end, 36 to 40 laps towards the end of the race, then you'll be home free. But cautions can throw that off massively. So we will have a look at this enormous field of cars as they come down towards pit entry. The pace car is in. Jason Martin controlling the field. The green flag is out, and away he goes. Very good start on the bottom line there. It looks like the top line has managed to stay with them. Jason Martin already seeing Gavin Sadler move around in his mirrors. But we are green for the start of the International Majors Daytona 500. What a sight to see as they come through 1 and 2 for the first time. That second row is really doing well, but it seems like Jake Fox has fallen back a fair bit in these opening couple of miles.
You can see already a few of the guys on that outside row trying to get themselves down to the inside, but the field will start closing up. We'll start to see them really start to work into their grooves, work out where they want to sit. We'll probably see a big long line of cars to start with. We'll see a few cars drop off the back of the field, and then we'll start to see the real racing commence. So complete lap 1 cleanly, always a good sight to get through lap 1 nice and clean.
Yep, absolutely. So on to lap 2 now. And they're reaching top speeds of about 320 kilometers an hour as they go along here. It's not entirely bad to be in that outside line because you can get a little bit of side draft from the guys down below. You see everyone just going towards the bottom and middle of the circuit there, maintaining their positions. I love that camera, watching them all flick by at those amazing speeds. Look at that, that's crazy.
At the front of the field, Jason Martin, as we said, he's going to be one to watch. Started this race from pole, fastest qualifier. Also did a great job in the duels earlier in the week. Right behind him, though, Gavin Sadler, another one to watch too tonight. So 2 guys that are really, really going to be the big contenders right at the front of the field to start this race. Back in the field, it looks like we're all still in one. Oh, we're starting to get a bit of a break in the pack about midway through. It's surprised to see that big gap already starting to form.
Yeah, it looks like up the front we've got a few drivers making a comeback on the upper line. Daniel Stevens heading the charge up alongside Eric Thorpe. You can see there's 3 cars up on that high line. Stevens, Purnell and Jones trying to make their way up there. Got Kukas actually a fair way behind everybody at the moment, I'm noticing, but those guys up the front, we're seeing a real push early on. And it's only lap 4 out of 200. They don't want to get too feisty too early, but you can see they're starting to move around here. Gavin Sadler is getting a bit boxed in here.
You've got to be careful too, because if that side draft starts to work against you, if you're on the inside and you start to get the side draft working in the opposite direction, you can really have a little bit of trouble. Those cars on the outside can draw you out there. So we're going to see here Daniel Stevens. He'll come along right beside Gavin Sadler, and that will start to work against Sadler. Side draft nowhere near as aggressive as it has been in previous years. Saying that though, the MFR cars have really made the side draft work. They've been able to make the outside line work throughout the week. It's going to be great to see whether they can make it work later on in the race. But right now this is about just finding your feet, working out who you can work with, who you're able to bump with, who you can push, who you can sit behind safely. Whether you're happy to be behind the car you're behind, or whether you want to get out of that and find someone else to almost be your teammate essentially for this first phase of the race.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that I love about super speedway racing, is that it forces drivers to work together in ways that they wouldn't necessarily do in other forms of racing. And you can see Stevens has got a fantastic run through the tri-oval and up towards the first part of the circuit. Martin and friends are going a bit better through the turns, but once they get to the straights, you can see it just has a little bit of an edge there. That'd be a little bit of a bump draft from Purnell behind him.
The front 10 or 12 have already started to form a little bit of a breakaway from the rest of the field, but great to see that we're pretty much all one big pack for this stage. The top 22, there's a little bit of a gap back to James Robbie in 23rd, and Scott Kukas has dropped all the way off the back of the field. He's now 6 seconds behind, and he's going to really struggle to stay on the lead lap. But Daniel Stevens, Chris Purnell, they're doing a great job on the outside. We got told earlier in the week that the outside line was effectively useless and we wouldn't see anyone use it.
Look at that.
Well, we're completely wrong about what we've been told earlier in the week, and I am more than happy to see this.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this is something that I did not initially take into account, but look at where everyone is gaining speed. The inside line is gaining through the turns, and once they get to the straights, Purnell and Stevens get it done. That's because they're gaining a bit of momentum from dropping off the top of the banking as it flattens out. That gives them a little bit of an extra speed boost down the straights, and they've been able to make that work beautifully. Martin now down to third, just inching back into second place here as they go through the turns. But watch Stevens and Purnell on the exit. They drop down, they get that little bit of a launch, and away they go.
Purnell wants to be a little bit careful, because if Daniel Stevens is a little bit cheeky, he could cut down in front of Jason Martin and take the lead of the race and lead that inside train. I don't think Stevens will do that. I think he'll try and wait until Purnell's clear, and then they both can drop down. But now we're 3 wide as Purnell drops off the back. This is a very, very interesting start to the race, but it's a fantastic start. Great to see that outside line working.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see a couple of people further back in the pack using that, but Purnell and Stevens here up the front, they are the ones making the best use of it right now. Martin, of course, has the numbers advantage. He's got plenty of cars behind him to push him, but have a look. Once they get to the straights, look at Purnell and Stevens. They're just inching ahead at quite a rapid pace.
There you can see again, exactly as you just said, Reece, straight away back through. We're going to see a lot of chopping and changing. So great to see. We're going to finish the first 9 laps under green, and we've already gone longer than we did last year. Last year we had 2 cautions within the first 10 laps. We're now on lap 10, and these guys have already worked themselves out, looking very, very under control. The only issue we're going to have, got another 10 laps, we're going to start seeing lap traffic.
Yeah, we absolutely are. That's one of the downsides of super speedway racing. You have to be in the pack. You have to get those drafts. If you drop off just a little bit too far, say about 1.5 to 2 seconds behind, then you lose that draft. You don't have the straight line speed, and you are just going to lose buckets of track position.
Yeah, if you go down a lap, at this stage it's not a huge issue, but if you go down a lap and you have someone else go down a lap with you, then you're going to be fighting all race to try and get that lap back. Of course, lucky dogs do play a part throughout the race. If you don't know what a lucky dog is, the first car 1 lap down does get a wave by under caution. So they, if you are the first car 1 lap down, it's not the end of the world. But if you get multiple cars a lap down, start to see racing within racing, and that's when it can get really, really messy as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's that these guys really want to avoid. If you've got a couple of lap cars battling with each other, and you're one of the leaders embroiled in a battle of your own, you're in two minds about it, because neither party wants to interfere too much in the other, but they kind of have to in a position like this. It's a game of chess at 200 miles an hour, where nobody is quite sure what the opponent's next move is going to be.
The outside line definitely working now. So Daniel Stevens gets it working. Oh no!
There we go. And instantly, that was, oh my goodness, a lot of cars getting involved in that. Big shame there. And those were the guys that we've been praising just then, making that outside line work. And just like that, Stevens was turned around.
Disastrous too for Daniel Stevens. His car looks a little bit second-hand. Of course, drivers do have a spare car, so we can see the guys get back out there and get their cars repaired and going again. But yeah, we were just praising. There's just a little bit of contact between Purnell and also Stevens, I think, that just caused him to get a little bit loose here. You just see a little bit of bumping through the corner. It always is a little bit questionable whether that will work. It's a lot of cars involved in that one. Purnell did get caught up at the end. It's pretty much half the field involved in that one, in one way or another.
Yes, indeed. I was going to say the likes of Gavin Sadler caught up in that as well. He was running in second place, but our leader, Jason Martin, has escaped the worst of it. He maintains the lead, and Eric Thorpe and Jake Fox have been promoted to podium positions.
How did they get out of that? How did they not get involved? Especially when you saw Sadler get cleaned up. Eric Thorpe was right underneath that rear wing of Gavin Sadler, so he did a great job to avoid being involved in that one. But we didn't do too bad though. I think to see we got 11 and a half laps clean, well 11 and a quarter.
Indeed.
But yeah, a fairly big drop in numbers in that one. We've got Shane Bowen in the pits. He did blow up his car. Alexander Sheridan and also Daniel Stevens already come in. They'll also serve a penalty, but the rest of the field now coming into the pits.
Yes, indeed. And basically everyone is going for it here. Get a little bit of damage repaired. Get some fuel, maybe some extra tyres. So, Jason Martin in his box, Jake Fox in his box, Eric Thorpe getting tyres changed, and we're seeing the panel beaters come out and make sure those cars are well repaired. Martin already out.
Yeah, he only took 2 tyres, as did Matt Muggleton. Muggleton's got a little bit of damage on that right-hand side, so he'll have to be careful. Eric Thorpe also out. Cameron Dance also taking 2 tyres. He's jumped up into 4th position. Bo Albert also taking 2 and into 5th. Those guys look like they've all got through that incident other than Muggleton unscathed. The rest of the field all still in. Jake Fox, very, very long stop for him. He's still stopped.
Yeah, definitely. So he might have come out from that wreck a little worse than we anticipated. He might have some fairly critical damage on that thing.
Very, very possible.
Of course, it wouldn't make much sense for someone to immediately go for their spare car if they were, not heavily involved in a wreck. You're just wasting an opportunity to use it later on. But Fox still at a standstill, along with the likes of Purnell, Shane Bowen, Simon Mazzomo, and Robert Northway. They're all in there.
Mazzomo got very, very heavy impact in that incident. You can see the side of his car, so he'll be getting as much damage fixed as he can. Under this caution, he'll come out and get to the back of the train and stay on the lead lap, but we should go green next time by. And hopefully we can see another decent green flag run, but that wasn't too bad a run. I must say the drivers must be pretty happy with how that's went, other than how the actual incident happened. But you always tend to see as well, when you see a longer green run, when we do see a caution, it is usually a lot bigger.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's almost like the whole relationship between kinetic and potential energy. Like the less kinetic energy something has, the more potential energy. So Conversely, the longer a green flag run is, the bigger is the crash that ends it, or something. I'm not too good at physics analogies.
You went straight over my head. I heard kinetic and I thought you were talking about the team.
No.
But nearly up to 1/10 race distance as well. These races, when they do stay green, go by very, very quick. One thing that some drivers were talking about, I was talking to a few of the drivers before the race, is actual physical exertion in the race. It's been a long time since a lot of these drivers would have done a race this long. A lot of drivers in this field may never have done a full race this long. Might only do, say, a 50 or 60 lap oval race or a 20 or 30 lap road race. Maybe race for an hour at a time. Didn't race in the Daytona 2.4. So this length of race, which can go up to 4 hours, is really going to struggle, or be a struggle for some of these drivers, depending on how it all plays out.
Yeah, certainly. You know, there's always going to be a few people who go, oh, it's just an oval race, you're just turning left, you're not lifting the throttle, it's flat out, da-da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, once you actually watch a race like this, once you actually experience a race like this, which you can do on the iRacing simulator, you really gain a deeper understanding for what these drivers need to go through. And I'll talk more about that once we have gone back green, which we are about to. The pace car is in. Jason Martin once again controlling the field. Green flag flying. And away we go. Actually a really good initial start there from Matt Muggleton, but I think that straight line speed is going to be his downfall.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're going to see him struggle. I think we're going to see that outside line all ditch Muggleton and leave him hanging out to dry. That damage that he's got is going to be really tough. And we'll probably see teammates start to try and open a gap to let their sister cars in to the line. But Matt Muggleton, I think, is going to get dropped. That outside line really starting to struggle now with that damage on the front of Matt Muggleton's car. Starting to look like it is more ploughing through the air than actually being aerodynamic in any way at all.
I'm actually surprised that he's been able to keep up as well as he has in this initial phase anyway. So maybe the damage isn't worth as much as we thought it would be, but you can already see right behind Matt Muggleton, that was Cameron Dance slotting into the inside line just to try and get a little bit of extra drafting. And this is what I wanted to talk about, Jay, before we went green. When you're in the middle of a draft pack like this, you're not just going flat out and pitching your wheel to the left a little bit. There's so much more to it than that. You actually have to get out of the throttle. Sometimes you even need to ride the brakes a little bit to try and keep your momentum up, but not so much so that you're plowing into the car in front of you. That's where the mental game comes in. That's where your ankles really get tired because you're trying your best to hold the throttle at the optimum position that will allow you to benefit from that draft, but not too much.
Yep, whether you've got to be 80% or 82% throttle, or in some aspects you have to get it back down to 100 and then get straight back off the gas again because you've got too much momentum. It is really, really tough, and it is really mentally draining, which is why, as I said, when we have these big, long green flag runs, you see big wrecks, because the mental side of these races is so intense, it is so huge. It's such a tough job to finish these races. If you can finish one of these races on the lead lap, it is an achievement in itself. To win one of these races is absolutely huge.
It absolutely is. Shane Bowen there on the outside, unfortunately all on his lonesome. You can see them jetting by him. Hopefully Shane can find a bit of a gap in the field and get himself in a position to possibly get back onto the lead lap later on. But for the most part, these guys are single file, and Eric Thorpe is now the main challenger to Jason Martin.
I think Thorpe's quite happy sitting there, and you can see, but earlier we saw the MFR car at the front there of Daniel Stevens. He was able to get that to work really well, but it looks like everyone's just happy and content at the moment. Getting into single file, we're probably going to see a lot of single file racing at the start of these stints, and then as we start to get up towards the end of the first stint, or the end of the full stint, and we get green flag stops, that's when we're going to start to see a few of these drivers really play the strategy games. You just noticed there, Robert Northway's got a huge amount of damage on the front of that Camry.
He has too. Wow. He actually has. That's very concerning. Not quite sure.
You have to watch the heat in that car. That'll be from that big wreck we had earlier when he was trying to avoid everyone. He would have unfortunately had a big issue. You can see how crumpled up the front of that car is. Go back to the front though.
With it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like it's stressing him too much. So there's so much left in the race, you don't have to be too worried. And so go back to the front. Love that Eric Thorpe's running Josh Nowak's car just to make it feel like Josh is out there on track. It threw me a little bit in practice. I'm like, hang on, Josh isn't racing. Who's driving that car?
Josh's clone, Eric, apparently. But as you say, Jake, he does seem pretty comfortable sitting in there behind Jason Martin. A little bit of weaving going on, but not too much. I think that's just so he can more or less see where he's going. We've only got one car up on the high line now. Everyone else is well and truly sticking low.
Yep, and you see when they come down the back straight, they're all sort of fanning out half a lane. Just that's to get a bit of air into the engine. So the amount of tape that some of these cars are running will really differ between the front and back of the field. The amount of tape then obviously limits the amount of air that can get into the engine. So then they want to try and expose the car to get more air into the car. As I'm just noticing Simon Mazzomo is about to go a lap down. This is going to be a bit nerve-wracking for him. I know that Simon hasn't done a huge amount of oval racing. He's about to get absolutely swamped by the entire field.
Look at the rate at which everyone is catching him and passing him.
He is so down on speed as well.
Yeah, that would be a very stressful position. I don't envy Simon for being in that position. We've just gone 1/10 race distance, I believe, Jay.
Yes, we have. We are
now.
already done 50 miles, 80 odd kilometres of racing. Amazing to think how quick a race goes here at this circuit when we do 800 kilometres of racing. Makes it sound like an even bigger race when you're talking kilometres, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and I suppose, yeah, it would fly by when you're doing a lap speed that basically doesn't dip below 315 kilometres an hour.
On board here with Matt Muggleton, and great to see Matt in his car supporting the Joyful charity. It's a really, really good cause that the Delta Force Racing crew have got behind.
Absolutely.
Matt running. Well done to Matt and Delta Force Racing.
Yeah, Matt running reasonably well at the moment in 6th place on track. So
I'm impressed with the pace despite that damage.
Yeah, I am too. That's really well played by Matt. I think he'll just gradually repair that damage over future pit stops, and as long as he can stay within reach of the top 6 there, as we see Mazzomo going back into the pits.
He'll be getting his spare car, I feel.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good decision at this stage. If he's just not able to get even close to the speeds that these guys are doing, then it would be a smart decision to take his spare
I got a car around.
now. Oh no,
Roger
that's
Clark.
Oh yeah, that's one of the Middle Finger Racing boys there. That's obviously not the route that you want to take through the bus stop chicane on the back straight.
I think he may have actually had a little bit of help and ended up on the infield from his teammate, possibly. No. I'm not sure what car that was.
That's odd. I'm going to go back.
Robert Northway, I believe that may have been.
Interesting.
We stay green from it. Yeah, it was Northway.
Yeah, Robert Northway just coming down, I think, on him there.
Another look on board here.
Looks to me like Clark did move right just slightly, but Northway came down a bit more.
Both just sort of met each other, didn't they?
Yeah. Either way, that's a real shame for Roger Clark. He's now smoking down on the apron, trying to get it back to the pits.
Smoking's bad for you, Roger. Give that up.
Yeah, certainly.
Hopefully he can bring it into the pits. If he can't get it into the pits, this could actually bring out a caution. The drivers come past while he's got a bit of smoke billowing out like this. We could see a caution come out. It should be okay. So we'll stay green at this stage, and he'll get into his spare car and get going again. So won't be stopped for too long. We go back to the front though. This front 20 odd cars, just quite happy. 19 cars in this front pack at the moment.
That's a glorious sight.
It is.
You look on board, Jason Martin on his roof looking back. It's just this long snake of cars going back along the circuit. Pretty awesome to see.
It's great to see that so many of these drivers are just happy and content and are actually thinking logically about the length of this race. We saw last year's race that the first 50, 60 laps, so many drivers in this field sort of forgot that it was a 200 lap race. It didn't really matter where you were until about lap 150, 160, and then you start to worry about it. But this year, I mean, we've obviously had that big incident early on, but other than that, the field has looked really, really good. They've looked really, really in control. Jake Fox was seen back in the pits again, though. Something's not right with Jake. He had that very, very long stop before, and he's back in the pits again. He's now a lap down. Green flag stop.
That's no good for him. Not quite sure what the reasoning behind that is, but you are right, Jay. I think this race really shows a new sense of maturity, maybe a bit of a coming of age for a lot of the drivers in this field who would have been one of their first experiences with long-distance oval racing in last year's 500. Now they come back knowing what the risks are, knowing what mistakes can be made, and they've come back to it and are doing an incredibly good job out here.
Yeah, 100%. It's great to see. The maturity level has grown. There's a really, really strong oval community in Australia and New Zealand, so they've really worked hard. I know that Roger Clark is one of the leaders behind that. So disappointing to see him have that incident, but great to see him still going. He's got in his spare car and back out on track. But the oval resurgence in Australia and New Zealand is so good to see. As a fan of oval racing on the iRacing service, I absolutely love seeing that it is growing and continuing to grow. The Oscar series, it's run during the week, now growing in stature as well as the driver participation numbers. So hopefully next year we might even see 3 splits, maybe even 4. I'm ambitious enough to think that we can get 3 or 4 next year.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable prediction to make. Like racing with the ANSCAR boys, as I had over the last few months, I was really impressed by their dedication and their commitment to the fun of oval racing. So I think it's a really good idea to promote this sort of stuff in the AusNZ community. So if you're on the fence about oval racing and you're in the AusNZ community, give it a shot. It is really, really awesome. It's fantastic to take part in.
It's a lot harder than you think.
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
so much harder than you think, and so rewarding when you do a great job too.
Absolutely.
Just hearing that they actually had their Daytona 500 last week. I remember it was on last weekend, and they had 97 laps at the start green.
Wow,
that's amazing.
That's impressive. That's very impressive.
From memory, I believe that Jason Martin won that race as well. I'll probably get told that I'm either right or... Well, I will get told I'm right or wrong.
Well, either way, you can almost guarantee that he took part, and it was very good practice for this.
Definitely was. So we are now 20 laps since that first caution, so we're about halfway through this stint, which is now when drivers will start to scratch their head and try and work out what to do. And just noticing from this shot, looking back, that Matt Muggleton, we saw that damage. I'm wondering if he's struggling with heat because he's moving to the side a little bit on the actual oval as opposed to just on the straights. Also seeing Daryl Hockey trying to try and make this outside line work. Shane Bowen tucked in behind him. Sorry, it's Riley Curtis on the outside. So the outside line starting to reform a little bit. Oh, it was Jason Martin that came second. His teammate, though, Josh Mecklemore, won that race.
Okay, well, congratulations either way. It definitely takes a lot of talent, blood, sweat and tears to win a Daytona 500 in any capacity. So,
It does, Race.
Yeah, it certainly does. I still have not been able to finish one on the lead lap.
I somehow fluked a win. Everyone knows I've talked about this so many times, but I did fluke a win in the iRacing official Daytona 500. It's a long time ago when I used to race, though.
Yeah, certainly was.
I believe you ran that one as well that night.
Yeah, I think I did. I made contact with a car in the pits. Turned him. So that should tell you enough about how my race went, but we got another race to focus on here, Jay. Have a look at Riley Curtis and the number 61 of Shane Bowen they have actually managed to start making a bit more ground on these guys down the back of the field.
Yeah, of course, Shane Bowen is 2 laps down now. He won't get a lucky dog if the caution comes out now because Jake Fox is only 1 lap down. So Bowen really has to start working with this group, try and come around and pass Jake Fox and get ahead of him. There is every chance of that happening though. Now Bowen, as you said, trying to get that outside line working. Martin, Thorpe, Albert, Dance at the front. Very, very content on just sitting there and making that line work. As just seeing as well, got another driver starting to come out there. Oh, actually, no, that's a lap car. Yeah.
That is Mr. Roger Clark there, who's in his way out onto the circuit. He's down in position 29 right now, but he could potentially be another tool that is used by Curtis and Bowen there. Possibly stick with them. See if he can do it. Gonna go 3 wide into turn 1 there. Always a scary one when you're, especially if you're in the middle like Bowen is.
Well, that outside is starting to work because you can see Curtis now is up to 11th position. He was right at the back of this train 6 or 7 laps ago. Now he tucks back into the inside. So he's gained half of that pack, about 8 or 9 spots. So that outside can work.
Yeah, and he's still got heavy damage on that car. So the fact that he has been able to preserve pace and make more gains is quite fantastic. Have a look, he's got a hell of a run on Ryan Jones. That is fantastic. On board with Ryan Jones as we take a look at the 815 of Riley Curtis. You can see how beat up that car is, and of course, gaining through the turns once they get onto the straights. There's that momentum thing I was talking about earlier, and if Curtis can swap back into the inside for a couple of seconds more, he'll be able to get another really good run here.
Not quite enough, but what might happen is you see there the sister car there of Dave Douglas. He might check up a tiny little bit, check up that inside line and enable the car of Curtis to come in. I think Curtis might just keep going. Don't be surprised to see Douglas jump in behind Shane Bowen and those 3 start to work together to push that outside line up to the front of this field.
Could definitely work out for them when the next caution comes out. It'll allow Riley Curtis a bit more of an opportunity to get some of that damage repaired on his car and come out in a really good position. They are coming up on the 7th and 8th place machines. We've got James Robbie and Gavin Stadler, the teammates next to these guys. Look at the runs that these guys get. We're right on board with James Robbie here in the Misfit Motorsport machine. You will have to look back just a little bit to see him there. Moving down to the inside, there we go. As predicted, Riley Curtis gaining a little bit more of momentum there. Fortunately, Shane Bowen's been left out to dry.
And what's going to happen here? Yeah, Bowen has been left out to dry by himself, but what he's got is Jake Fox just ahead of him. If he can pass Jake Fox, then he's the first car 1 lap down. This is now a race within a race here.
Oh, yes it is. It definitely is. And have a look at the run that Bowen has on Fox there.
Oh, squeezing him up against the wall.
Oh, almost getting into the wall is Jake Fox, but Shane Bowen is now ahead. So if a caution comes out right now, Bowen is going to be top dog, the lucky dog.
And Eric Thorpe also starting to get a little bit of momentum as well. He almost looked like he might have been able to go around the outside. The gap at the line, 3 thousandths of a second between first and second. So we've seen some amazing finishes at Daytona. We saw last week here on the iRacing Esports Network the Western Mazda Australian Online Supercar Championship, 3rd and 4th separated by 1 thousandth of a second. We're going to see something similar to that somewhere throughout the field tonight. Hopefully it's for first and second.
Yeah, hopefully. These there's nothing quite like an oval finish, is there?
Nothing at all, and especially a super speedway finish. It's going to be an awesome finish. We're already at a 5th race distance. This race is going by at a very, very good pace. 1 caution so far on lap 12. So now 26 to 27 laps from the last pit stop. That means that drivers will really be scratching their head, starting to stress, because it is stressful green flag pit stops in a huge pack like this is extremely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, absolutely is. You got to remember, not only are you going at a pretty high rate of speed, these cars don't do much else very well other than going very fast. The brakes are very weak, and the tires are really built for these kinds of circuits, for the very high grip, high pressure sort of surfaces on ovals. So once you get on that brake pedal on brakes that are very cold in a car that has a very wayward chassis, then you really start to test the limits of what these things can do, and oftentimes you will go over them.
Just said about Shane Bowen getting past Jake Fox to get the first car one lap down, or first car a lap down. No longer, because Chris Purnell is now the first car one lap down. You can see there's no rear on that car, so he is struggling with pace. Also at the front, the top 6 starting to bridge a little bit of a gap on the rest of the field. Gavin Sadler's dropped a tiny little bit. I don't think that will worry him too much though.
No, don't think so. He's got help from his teammate there behind him, and he's still well within draft range of Matt Muggleton there. So if these guys drop off a little bit, I don't think that's going to stress them too much at this stage. You see Eric Thorpe just there up ahead, getting out of the draft, a little bit more engine cooling for him. So he's obviously starting to think about his temperatures a fair amount. Matt Muggleton as well. He's I still can't believe he's managed to vault himself up there with that damaged car.
Yeah,
very
I can't
well
either.
played.
He's got so much damage, I don't know how he's doing it. Jason Martin, though, he's looking like he's just happy and content. Probably knows that he can trust Eric in behind him there, knows that Eric won't do anything silly. He knows that Eric is a very, very mature driver in these things. He's done a lot of racing, so Eric Thorpe, probably one of the best drivers to have tucked up under your rear wing. You know he's not going to do anything silly. You know he's not going to give you a push through the corner. Just be nice, content, and happy. Sitting there at this stage, these front 6 actually look really, really relaxed almost in their current pace. Now coming up to 30 laps since these guys pitted, so only about 7 or 8 laps away from seeing green flag stops, Reese. I didn't think that we'd see green flag stops this early in the race. Fingers crossed we still do, but yeah, I'm amazed that we're at this point.
Yeah, I didn't think that we'd see them either.
Cam's tucked out a line. Oh, tucks back in just in time.
Yeah, just going out on the straights to get a little bit more air into that engine. But you are correct, Jay. These guys, they've got a very relaxed sort of demeanor about them up the front. Usually in super speedway races I've been in, it's been this real frenetic dash, and you're constantly second guessing yourself and what drivers are doing around you. But these guys, nah, they're looking very relaxed. They know what each other is doing, and it's just a case of waiting until the green flag stops, which will most likely be coming in the next couple of laps.
Predictometer as well saying that the race pace at the moment, we should be done in about 2 hours and 35 minutes. So
wow. Incredible
the pace that these guys are going at the moment. So if we see that sort of race pace, I don't think we would have seen one in that quick. But I'm sure that at some point we'll see another caution. I can't see us going another 155 laps green, but we have seen some very, very long green flag runs in the international division of the majors, in the oval side of things, both in the IndyCar last year. We also saw some huge long green flag runs in the Indy 500. We saw some really big ones in the World 600 as well. So not foreign to these guys getting some big long green flag runs.
Yeah, certainly not. These guys. Well, we did mention about the difference in care taken between the last Daytona 500 and this one, but you can almost see overnight the change in the attitudes of the field when they came to places like Charlotte and like Indianapolis, being able to have those really long green flag runs. I think at this stage it's all about care. It's all about just stepping lightly, making sure that you don't tread on each other's toes too much. That's exactly what these guys are doing here. Still single file.
And content being single filers.
Yes.
But there was a lot of chaos and mayhem in that mid-pack last year. Guys that were like, oh, I'm getting dropped off. But you even notice this secondary pack here with Matthew Clote, Alexander Sheridan, Daniel Stevens, and a couple of lap drivers as well in there too. It's car Roger Clark as well. These guys don't look phased. It's a long race. They're just all working together. It's just a very, very content group of cars, and there's 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 2 lap cars in this pack. They don't look stressed at all. So 19 cars in the lead pack, separated by 3 seconds. It shows you how close the racing is as well.
Yeah, certainly. We've got another lapped car that the leaders have come up on. Scott Kukas, just running that high line there. He's currently on his lap 47. So doing the right thing there, staying up. Maybe once this pack passes, he'll find a place to slot in and hang on to the rear of this pack.
Probably just be happy to let all these guys by, and then he'll tuck in at the back and lap around. He's got a fairly big gap between he and Chris Purnell, who's way down the field. He's out there all on his lonesome. He'll be hoping for a caution so they can get that car fixed, come back out. But we are now up to 35 laps in this stint, and now we're really starting to see what these guys are going to do in regards to pit stops as we approach quarter race distance. Guys are doing a very, very good job keeping it clean, keeping it relaxed. I've never been so relaxed watching one of these oval races. Watching a super speedway race is usually really tense. You're sitting on the edge of your seat, you're waiting for something to happen. I'm waiting for something to happen, but at the same point, I'm just like, these guys just look so content. The only issue with that is when lapses in concentration happen, and that is when huge mistakes occur. That's probably what we saw in that first caution as well, the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But right now, you're right. We're watching a Sunday cruise here, even though it's Saturday. So a Saturday cruise. It's quite nice to watch. It's like a very slow down.
Just a chilled, leisurely Saturday night drive at 320 k's an hour with 30 of your best mates, separated by nothing, bumping each other. It should be right. Let's just all do 800 k's.
Excellent. Well, that's a great goal to aspire to, and these guys are doing very well at the moment to do that. You can see Dance just pulling out there once again.
Talking to Cam earlier in the weekend, he was one that was running a lot of tape. So it's probably at the point now where he's starting to stress a little bit about these temperatures, knowing that I was just hearing there that Jason Martin actually getting off the throttle a little bit. So even at the front of the field, he's getting off the throttle just to make sure that he doesn't make too big a gap at the front with the momentum. As you see there, have a look at around the outside. Yeah. Shane Bowen absolutely flying as that group back in the field that we saw. Matthew Clote, Daniel Stevens, Roger Clark, all pitting together under green flag conditions.
Good stuff. Good stuff from those guys, definitely. But how about Shane Bowen? Where has he suddenly got this magnificent straight line speed from? You see Dance and Albert trying to catch some of his draft there.
And then what they've done, they've actually opened up the door.
Oh yeah.
Dutnak's going to come through.
They're going to challenge for the lead. They've latched onto the back of Shane Bowen, and now they are going to challenge for the lead. Look at this. This is tactics, man.
But what's going to happen is Martin is going to have to pit. He's probably going to have to come in next lap. Being the lead car for this entire stint means he's probably going to get 36, 37 full speed laps to a tank. We're just seeing Alexander Sheridan jump into the pits. So he'll probably come in this maybe next lap. This is lap number 38 in this stint. So this is where things start to get really, really nervy. Maybe they've pulled over to the side because they know that Martin's coming in, but coming in right now is Riley Curtis, also in Matt Muggleton, Dutnak as well. So now we're starting to get a really, really interesting phase of the race. If these front four pit together, come out together, they could break away from the rest of the field.
They absolutely could. This is going to be immense. But what part is Bowen going to play in all of this? Remember, he is the car in front at the moment, but he is not on the same proper lap as these guys. He switched down to the inside there. What this guy's going to do? They're coming out of oval 3 and 4. Who was going to bear right? Martin. Martin goes for it, but the rest of them don't.
Yeah, he's going to have to do this all by himself. James Robbie comes in,
Oh,
actually.
he's locked up! Jason Martin, he's locked up, and he's done a bit of a half spin
Oh!
on pit lane. Oh, goodness me. That could have been catastrophic.
And what has happened, he's actually had his teammates come with him too. So Gavin Sadler, James Robbie have decided to jump in the pits at the same time. So they're going to all work together. Ryan Jones also in. Let's see what these guys that did come in last lap, where they will come out in relation. But Jason Martin, was he speeding when he came across the line? We saw that practice pit entry he did, as we just seen the guys that did pit, they've just gone a lap down. But Albert, Thorpe, Dance probably will all come in this time. They don't want to stay out too long. Also, Bowen's come in too, and have a look at Thorpe!
Bit of a tight line.
So deep,
Oh!
looks it up! Wow.
This is what we were... Oh, goodness. Careful, guys. Jeez. A little bit of a bump and tap there between Thorpe and Albert on pit lane. To see, you were talking about green flag pit stops before the race, Jay. That's why we love them.
It is, but what has happened is Cameron Dance has been left out on circuit all on his lonesome. This is going to hurt him. He's got no one to work with. Gavin Sadler's also come out of the pits net leader, but he's come out with nobody. We did say that, or wonder if Jason Martin had a penalty. I believe he did, because he had a very long stop, 29 seconds. James Robbie also stopped 29 seconds, so he probably got a penalty as well, or he's hung in the pits to try and work with Jason Martin. When we get all these pit stops done, this field is going to be so mixed up. Will Thorpe and Albert maintain the lead? Also, John King's just coming out of the pits now too. These guys have to be careful, because they have to wait until they come past the blue cone before they can stretch out onto the circuit proper. Gavin Sadler looks like he will be the leader of this race.
Yeah, looks like it. And Eric Thorpe managed to jump Albert a bit more in the pits there. They've come out reasonably close to each other, but Thorpe's just gotten a little bit more of a gap. But Sadler currently in the net lead of this one. What is going to happen to him? He doesn't have any teammates to keep him company. I was going to say, Martin
Maybe
doing
not.
that half spin. Oh, yeah.
I don't think Sadler's going to have the lead, because Albert and Thorpe here are going to start working together, and that will mean that they'll get up to speed. If Sadler can just get in the draft, he might be okay. But Albert now on the tail of Eric Thorpe. If these two can lock up, we might see them okay. Ryan Jones, Dave Douglas, Matt Muggleton, Dudnak, Sorensen, King and Leslie, these guys, they all work smart here. They could come up past Sadler, past Albert, past Thorpe and take the lead of the race away.
Yep, certainly. That is precisely what could happen. And this is yet another one of those things about super speedway racing that I absolutely love, is when they take those green flag pit stops and when they go into all of these separate battle packs, that's when you start seeing this real fight ensue, not between two cars, but between two groups of cars. They're all working together in their own little packs.
So Sadler's been gobbled up by that group involving Jones, but Dance has come out just ahead of Thorpe and Albert, and he'll probably slow up a little bit, let Thorpe and Albert go by, tuck onto the tail, and these three will try and blast away. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, because the draft is probably just strong enough for Ryan Jones, Dave Douglas, Matt Muggleton and others to draft on up. But there is a distinct breakaway. The top 9 have gone clear of the rest of the field as Dance goes wide. He'll tuck in behind Albert. And watch how quickly the rest of this field closes up behind.
Yeah, oh my goodness, have a look at the run there. The 909.
Look at them all come around the outside.
My goodness, that is crazy speed that they've got. You're seeing a little bit more moving around as well. These guys trying to make it work around the outside. There's going to be a little bit of rubber and marble build up at the very top of the circuit. So the guys running
Ryan
the
Jones
line
leads.
have to be careful. Look at that. He's got it. He's got the lead of this race.
And Dave Douglas has worked well to tuck in behind. He's taken second position away. So great job from those guys. Dance is the one out there with the freshest tyres. He'll have the shortest stop in the next phase, so that will help him later on in the race as well. But Jason Martin, he's going to be the talking point in the next phase of the race. 14.5 seconds back. He is a long way down the field.
Certainly is, and I would have thought that his half spin was almost a blessing in disguise, because it brought him more in touch with his teammates who could help him get back up. But nothing much seems to be happening with those guys at the moment. So definitely we'll have to keep an eye on the Misfit guys and Jason Martin just to see what he does, really.
Well, the big thing with it is that obviously he had that penalty. Gavin Sadler, he just went. He decided, well, I'm going to go and try and get up in that lead pack. What Sadler probably would have been trying to do is try and get it to the front of that pack and maybe even try and check the field back a little bit. But what I'm noticing in regards to the live speeds is the fastest car out on track in regards to the live speed down the back straight is that pack involving Jason Martin, James Robbie and Drew Lalonde. They're getting up to 330 down the straight. You've only seen these lead guys. It's incredible when you look at it like that. These lead guys only getting up to 327. So there's a noticeable difference in regards to speed. That lap by there, Jason Martin, what did he do? No, he's about half a second off the pace. So even though they've got that great speed, they're not quite able to match. Don't think they'll take too long before they get up to Dean Mole, and he will jump in and join them as well. It's right on cue. Yep. There he is.
Yeah, but look at the speed that these guys have got over him. I think Mole may even have lifted slightly there.
So it's just the pace difference from the draft and working with another driver. But Mole will tuck in behind Lalonde there, and those guys will work together. And also Jake Fox trying to get himself back into this race. Still 22 cars on the lead lap. We're nearly at a third race distance. This is just incredible, the pace of this race. So good to see, and all 29 starters are still in the race.
Yeah, that is very impressive. I would have expected a couple of retirements by now, but honestly, the level of commitment that we've seen from these guys and the cleanliness of the racing, yes, we have had one caution, but aside from that, this has been a textbook Daytona 500 from these guys.
Sadler's tucked up on the outside line, and he's dropped back in behind. I'm thinking Sadler's dropping back here to come back and help his teammate in Martin and also Robbie. Let's see in the next 2 or 3 laps how far Sadler drops back, whether that is a strategy or whether he's doing something else. These guys are very, very experienced oval racers. 3 of the most experienced guys all on the same team, being Sadler, Robbie and Martin. See what they do, but they're very, very smart in strategy, especially in oval racing. So looking forward to seeing how things goes. But one thing we haven't talked about yet, Reese, don't know if you're starting to notice, but the sun is setting. The track will be cooling. Have drivers and teams thought about how the car evolves and the car changes when the sun sets?
That is the question, because as many people are aware of, day-night transitions in iRacing are now a thing. This race has started in the daytime. We're going into sunset. It's currently 5:33 p.m. in the sim, so the sky is only going to get darker and darker as the sun sinks below the horizon. That's going to change the grip available on the track. It's going to change how the cars drive. They'll become a bit more oversteery in cooler conditions. So, yeah, good question. I don't know if any of the drivers have prepared for this.
I don't think many would have, if any. Maybe some of the bigger teams might have had the manpower to test it, but some of those smaller teams, some of the single driver teams or 2 or 3 drivers to a team, they would not have had the manpower to be able to test those sort of things. So they're going to be really questioning what to do and trying to work out on the fly whether they adjust tyre pressures, whether they add some tape, take some tape off, what they need to do to make the car work better coming in later on in the race. It's it'll be interesting to see whether the car, even for some drivers, whether they've compromised the way the car's set up for the start of the race for later on when we get into the night phase.
Yeah, that's it, and that is the beauty of dynamic conditions in a sim. We'll be able to see exactly what happens in real life, different teams and cars getting to grips with the situation a little bit better. So, bring on the night, I say. But this lead pack,
Sadler hasn't dropped off.
He hasn't dropped off as much as I thought he would. He's actually staying well on the back. Maybe he's just dropped back a little to check out, just scope out what's going on at the front. And then if a crash happens that will maybe trigger a caution, then he can let his teammate.
Well, I'm wondering, that could be the other thing too, is maybe he thought that pack at the front was a little bit too racy for his liking, so drop back and save himself in case something happens. So we're about to start lap number 66. When we finish this lap, we're 1/3 of the way through the race.
absolutely flown by. I'm quite impressed, actually, at how quick this race has gone. Usually, when you're talking about NASCAR racing at Daytona, you think 4, maybe 5 cautions by the 1/3 mark, but nah, this is good. This
Well, I
is
think
really
we had
good.
5 or 6 cautions by this phase last year, so to have gone 53 laps green at this stage, it's going to be interesting. I'm just being told as well it won't get fully dark, but the sun will be in the driver's eyes at the end. Obviously, the current pace, the way they're going, they might be just trying to stay green so the sun doesn't get in their eyes.
True. Yeah, we need to finish while it's still light, guys. Don't do anything stupid.
You've got to save the electricity bill. We can't have the lights come on.
Yeah, well, they invoice us for that, don't they?
I hope not. Now, have a look at the timing. We said last time we looked, do you remember the gap between Jason Martin and that pack and the lead pack? Do you remember what it was last time we looked? 14
no.
and a half seconds. It is now
Okay,
12.
Oh, that's quite the drop.
So
Very
interesting to see
interesting.
how much they're closing up. I mean, it's 2.5 seconds at this stage, but if they're closing up 2.5 every 5 laps, it's going to take a little bit to get there, but it doesn't take much of an advantage. Only takes one mistake, one little check-up from this front field, which they've now decided to go 2x2. So this could even slow up this pack.
Cool.
They could drop 1 or 2 kilometres an hour as they try and fight. That could be enough then to give another couple of attempts as Bo Albert has to drop below the yellow line. It's a little bit loose coming out of NASCAR 2, out of turn 2. So this pack definitely isn't as stable as when we saw that big, huge single-file pack earlier.
Yeah, certainly not. It seems a little bit more leery, a little bit more movement going on. Earlier on, we just saw everyone stick solidly square in their lane, but now we're seeing drivers, going side to side a little bit, wandering a little down the straights and through the corners. So, a little bit more potential for things to go wrong here. As we rode on board with Sorensen, you can see there, that's Dance there on the inside. But look at the run that those on the inside are getting there. That's interesting. Outside run not being as good out of the corners as I remember it being.
Last lap by Ryan Jones at the front of the field, 44.5. Jason Martin, 44.2. So another 0.3 of a second. It is now down to 11 seconds and closing at a decent pace. I think that's partly why Sadler's dropped off. Doesn't want to help those guys pull away. He wants to help try and bring them back. So he's just staying there as much as he can. Happy as these guys tuck back into line, Sorensen and Dudnak. So that little project from those guys is over. And Jason Martin now 11.5 seconds back and closing.
This is really exciting. It's this getting into the middle third of the race where you really start to see the chess pieces being moved and the calculations being done, and all setting up for that final stage of the race where anything could happen. Because what these guys are doing right now is they are effectively just preparing for possibilities. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen here, not even us. There could be a caution. There could be 5 cautions towards the end of the race. Nobody really knows. So they have to be able to cover themselves if that opportunity arises. And they got to go for either the safe option, or they have to try something different and possibly take the fall.
One thing with this pack here that we're watching involving Jason Martin, James Robbie, Drew Lalonde, Dean Mole, and also Jake Fox, they're about to be joined, or joining up to 4 more cars. John King, Will Leslie, Dee Palmer, and Riley Curtis. They're only 2.6 seconds behind that next pack. When that pack joins in, then we're going to see the pace from this group of 5, which will then be a group of 9, increase. So this pack here on screen will soon join up with that pack with Jason Martin and others. You can see just there. Then we'll start to see that gap really close. This pack here involving King, Leslie, Palmer and Curtis, they're catching that lead pack as well. So that lap by there, Ryan Jones a 45.1, 44.5 for King. So that's 0.6 of a second quicker for this pack. But have a look at Jason Martin's last lap. 44.1, 1 full second out of the race leaders. It's under 10, down to 9.5. We're going to see them all come together, and then we're probably going to have about 5, maybe 6 laps, and then they're all going to have to pit again.
How good. How good. That is amazing. I love that. Just the perfect convergence of all these guys. That is fantastic to see. Well,
1.2 second advantage to King from that lead pack that lap there.
Oh, yeah.
1.5 second advantage for Jason Martin.
So these guys have got pace.
Oh yeah.
That's the big thing that we can get, that we can take away from this. These guys down into the pack have lots and lots of pace, oodles of it.
If I was in that lead pack, I'd be saying we need to shuffle around our positions, guys. These guys are catching us too quick from behind. We need to shuffle who's in which order, try something different, because as it is right now, it is not working. The packs behind were 15, 20 seconds back. They're now almost there. They need to shuffle their order around, work out who's going to be the best to be in first, second, third, and all of the rest of the positions. Because as it is right now, they are all going to drop back to the mid-pack.
Absolutely. This is something that they really have to start thinking about, because
this is what's happening. Have a look at this.
Oh yeah, yep, there we go. We got a few people staking their claim here, saying, nah, we're tired of this. Well, Bo Albert, not entirely tired.
He's not sure what he wants to do.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to get a little bit more momentum there off Douglas. Have a look at the run that these outside guys have got now. That's Bo Albert at the very front there. Right behind him is Matt Muggleton. And this is going to be a pass for the lead of the race. Neck and neck here.
Eric Thorpe's getting in on it too.
Yeah, and one thing that this is continuing to do is help those guys in the packs behind. You can almost see them all in the same shot now.
Look at the gap. Jason Martin to the race lead, 4.9 seconds. That lap by 44.0, 45.7 for Ryan Jones, 1.7 seconds disadvantage in regards to pace on that last lap by. Ryan Jones at the front of this pack may not be the right guy to lead this train, because they are really starting to struggle now. John King only 3.7 seconds from the lead of the race. But have a look at this now. We've got a 9-car chasing pack to chase the 9-car lead pack.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This pleases my brain. This is fantastic. These cars all coming together at once in 2 diametrically opposed packs.
There's the lead pack, go past. And here's the second pack. Have a look at how close they are.
This is great. This is great. Jay, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I'm hyped right now.
I know your voice well enough to know that you are very, very excited right now. So hopefully we don't see anything messy happen, because I know that you will absolutely destroy my headset if something does.
Yeah, I'll probably destroy the headsets of a few hundred people watching around the world here on the iRacing Esports Network. But Jason Martin has managed to get through almost there on John King. So these guys, Robbie, Lalonde and Curtis, all working together, going side by side with this other pack of King, Leslie et al. This is something special right here. This is one of the big chess moves. They move down to the inside. Jason Martin and James Robbie continuing their stalwart charge towards the front of this field. Look at them.
Jason Martin is now only 3 seconds behind his teammate in Gavin Sadler. So that lead pack now, they've started to shuffle themselves back into line. Last lap by, back down to low 44 seconds again. So they've found their pace again now that they've shuffled that order around a little bit. They've all gone, hang on, we actually have to start working properly here. But Ryan Jones, Dave Douglas, Matt Muggleton now your front 3. But this 9-car battle is soon to become 18 cars all together.
Indeed. Got a bit more lap traffic to contend with as well, because just behind Gavin Sadler, we've got Gary LaViolette in position 22. He's hanging on to the rear of this pack to try and make something of what has not been a particularly good race for him. But could certainly be a factor in this one. We're seeing them go by Scott Kukas again as well. So basically the vast majority of the field in these 1 or 2 corners.
We're only 10 laps away from green flag stops again too, Reece, so that's where we're getting excited. This is an awesome sight to see. Last year we only had the 1 round of green flag stops in the entire Daytona 500 for the major series. We're not even at halfway, and we're not far off having a 2nd round of green flag stops. Incredible to see.
Impressive is the word for that. Impressive. I'll tell you what's also impressive is Jason Martin's pace. It was a Ryan Jones actually dipping into the 44s on that last lap with a 44.9, but Martin with a 44.023, taking 9/10 out of the lead pack there. That's immense. Look at how close they are now. That's insane.
We're getting the draft advantage now too. Just looking at the live pace. 326 kilometres an hour through the exit of the corner. That lead train, 316, so 10 kilometres an hour difference. And just there, Jason Martin has done his fastest lap, the fastest lap of the race.
43.8. That's really good pace. So there we go. The 2 packs have officially become 1. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, across the world. This is the kind of racing that we go to Daytona for, that we go to NASCAR for. This is pretty awesome. It's like the start of the race all over again.
It is. What does Jason Martin do? We know he's got pace. We know that James Robbie is helping him very, very effectively and efficiently. Do we see these two go, well, let's go. Let's get round these guys up and go around the outside, or now do they just happily tuck in, save a bit more fuel, try and negate that disadvantage they had from the previous stop? I think they'll just sit there for the rest of this stint and then push for the next one.
Yeah, I think pushing for the next one is the wisest decision, because I'm thinking just in terms of space on the track. If they're up side by side at the time the green flag pit stops come around, it's going to make it so much more awkward for everyone. If they just sit single file and bide their time until they've got those pit stops done, then I think that'll work out much better for them. They'll be able to save a bit more fuel. They'll be able to get a quicker stop.
John King's decided to try and round it around the outside, and he's been joined by Will Leslie. Also Dean Mole getting in there too to try and make this outside line work. Jake Fox is staying to the inside, but also ahead, we're just seeing as well the Illusion Motorsports guys deciding as well to shuffle it to the outside. I don't think it's going to work for those guys. We will see. Also looking as well, Matt Muggleton also almost got shuffled out to the outside. He went over half a lane. Bo Albert almost come in there and chop that hole closed. Muggleton decides to go out there this time.
Yeah,
We start to see this outside line working.
Yeah, there's 2 guys behind them, Mikko Dortonak and John Sorensen, trying to make that outside line work. And Matt Muggleton...
Oh, Dortonak!
is coming up. Oh no, there we go! There we go! Oh, wow! Spectacular! Lee Bad, unfortunately, for quite a few of those drivers, that was just shaping up to be another round of green flag pit stops, Jay, but these guys are definitely going to go into the pits under caution now.
Yeah, well, it saved a few drivers. We'll see a couple of guys get back onto the lead lap as well that not long ago come into the pits, but Dortonak just got a bit of aero push there and just looped it around. It looks like Cameron Dance as well will get a penalty for driving through the pit lane. He did have to take to the pits to avoid contact. So, wow, what a run we had.
We certainly
72
did.
laps since the last caution.
Wow, that's a pretty good green flag run. So just dissecting what happened here in the tri-oval, Dortonak, yeah, he just slid a little bit and caught Dave Douglas, who unfortunately ricocheted into other cars. That just sent everyone flying.
We'll see Dave Douglas here. Just the unfortunate incident from his aspect that Dortonak probably pushing a little bit too hard and wasn't expecting the aero wash at the front end that he got. And we've seen Douglas just nowhere to go, bang into the wall. And
big spinny spin.
oh, I'm getting dizzy here.
Yeah.
But his car's
Me
gone
too,
pop
man.
as well, so he'll have to get his spare car. Fingers crossed for him, he can stay on the lead lap, but he'll probably go to 1 lap down. What it will do, though, will bunch the entire field up. We're going to have yellow flag stops, and we will now reset, get into the second phase of the race with the field all back together.
Yes, indeed. And Bo Albert has gotten an automatic speeding in pits penalty for his little adventure through pit lane, which is unfortunate for him. So we've got a few guys going straight for the pits here. You can expect almost the entire field in. So your lead pack there. Staying out is the likes of Jake Fox, Gary LaViolette, Scott Kukas, and Roger Clark.
Yeah, all the guys that are lapped down or more are all staying out to try and get their lap back and then hoping for another caution. They'll probably follow the pace car in and come back after that. Come back in after the pace car comes in and try and not lose a full lap. But Jason Martin, we can see at the front there, we're trying to do a better job. Matt Muggleton looks like he might. No, Ryan Jones just out first.
John King with a major issue, Jay. I saw him overshoot his pit box and very awkwardly reverse that car back in there. Big lurch from that Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. That's a real shame for King. He was running particularly well.
Yeah, he's lost about 12 seconds from that. So his pit lane transit time, 50 seconds. Ryan Jones' pit lane transit time, 33. So pretty big difference in speed. It's reassess where everyone is in the field now. Ryan Jones still leads the race. Got the lead from working that last round of pit stops perfectly. Matt Muggleton, amazing that that car still has pace even with that damage. And John Sorensen in 3rd position. Cameron Dance in 4th. Amazing to see that Jason Martin has got himself back into 5th position.
Pretty impressive run from the 6:55 there. Sets them up really well for the second half of this race, which is going to start very, very shortly. We are on lap 86 of 200, as you can see up in the top left of the screen. It's still not quite at the point where you're starting to think about the checkered flag, but it's starting to creep up on you.
Of course, the guys that we did see stay out have all come into the pits because they do have closed pit for that first time around. I don't know why I forgot about that, but pits are closed to lap down drivers the first time by, and then they can come into the pits second time by. A few cars have come in for a secondary pit stop to get a bit of damage fix. One of those there on screen, Robert Northway, also Gary LaViolette as well. So a couple of cars have come in to get a bit more damage fix, get back out on track. But Ryan Jones will maintain the race lead for now.
So pace car's lights are still on. We should be going green the time after this one. Going to be a very interesting second half of the race.
Apologies, I just got a minor little tech issue I'm trying to fix on the fly. I've been waiting for a caution to try and fix this tech issue, and hopefully it's now going to be sorted as we come back. It's the worst thing about big long green flag runs when you've got a minor tech issue that you need to wait for a caution to fix. It was always going to happen, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. That's Robert Northway coming out of the pits there with a
That car looks better.
decidedly fresher looking Camry than he came in with.
Long pit stop from him to get some damage fixed. About a 50-second pit stop, but now about to see the car of Roger Clark. He's about to get a lap back here. So he'll come back around to the back of the field, and he will only be 2 laps down now. He was 4 laps down at one point from memory, so let's see. It looks like Dave Douglas may be race done because he is still stopped in the pits. That is really, really unfortunate to see. He was doing a really good job of just helping set the pace, second car back, doing a good job of just pushing and maintaining the pace. Wasn't meant to be, though, unfortunately.
That is a big shame for Douglas. I was quite impressed with his run, but I don't know, at least you can say he was taken out of the race in one of the most spectacular fashions possible, like a spinning top. Lights on the pace car are now out. The drivers are forming up into their double file formation for this rolling restart. And Ryan Jones will be the one controlling the field, which I don't believe he has done before in this race.
Of course, this is the second restart. The first restart and the start of the race were both from Jason Martin, so new experience for Ryan in this series. Very, very difficult to time it, especially at super speedways, to make sure that you're not overrun by the outside line, and also not to break too far away from that pack, because if you break too far away, when the guys behind do catch you, they'll just blitz on by you. So you really got to be careful timing your run when you do these restarts at super speedways. Short tracks, you want to time it and get away from the field. Super speedways, you don't want to do that. You want to go with the field and have them come along with you.
Yeah, it's very much a slower, more difficult game at speedways than it is at the fast, frenetic, short ovals. Well, the pace car coming up on pit entry now. We're going to get going again here in the Daytona 500. Coming around to start lap 89. Green flag flies. And my goodness, Matt Muggleton right on it at the restart, drawing even with Ryan Jones. What an impressive start from the top line. Yep.
Very, very good job. And Matt Muggleton now officially timed in the lead of the race. Cameron Dance and Eric Thorpe also on the outside helping. It also looks like Dance is trying to shuffle down.
Oh.
Squeeze into a gap that wasn't really there. Also just seeing as well, Gary LaViolette's jumped into the pits to serve a penalty.
Will Leslie with a couple of tech issues as well, which is not going to inspire confidence in the drivers driving around him.
Drew Lalonde also with some tech issues as well. He's gone a lap down.
Very
good restart.
Yeah, other than that, yeah, very good restart from all of these guys. Ryan Jones just inching back into the lead slightly. Cameron Dance almost moving up, but Eric Thorpe is there. Going to try and follow Matt Muggleton through into the lead of this race. Have a look at Eric Thorpe. He's weaving, pushing Cameron Dance a little bit lower. I think Thorpe wants to be on that lower line.
He wants to try and thread into that gap. It's not quite there. It was there, but it closed up very, very late.
Take care, guys. Eric Thorpe, there we go.
He gets into that gap.
Slotted in. Yep. If I fits, I sits, says Eric Thorpe.
Matt Muggleton's going to be hung out to dry.
Wow, absolutely. Look at him. He's losing a ton of pace there. He'll have to slot back in himself.
Bo Albert serving that penalty that we said he had earlier from speeding in pit lane. So
31 second stop and hold.
Yeah, it's a long stop for him. So he's got a lap down. And he's also not the first car a lap down. So he'll be hoping for a caution at some point to try and get a lap back to work some strategy. That's unfortunate for him, trying to avoid a caution. Trying to avoid a wreck, and when the caution come out, it's just one of those strange things that happen, unfortunately, is we're just seeing the lead pack come past Roger Clark. We saw him get his lap back, but he's just given it back up again.
Yeah, that's a shame for him. And have a look at the run that these guys have on him. Something must have happened to Roger. He must have had to come back into the pits or something like that. But this lead pack is looking a bit more frenetic than it was at the last restart and through that green flag period. I think everyone's gotten a little bit more skittish thanks to that caution.
I think that lead pack breaking away and then being caught back up again by that secondary pack has probably thrown the psychological game for a few of these drivers. They probably were quite content thinking that, oh, okay, we've broken away here. The caution's what's going to bring it back, but it wasn't the caution that brought them back, it was the actual pace that brought that other group back. So I think those guys that were in that lead pack previously will be a little bit nervous about what's going to happen in this stint of the race if they don't break away from those guys behind, what they can do while they're sitting in that pack.
Yeah, we just saw Gavin Sadler lift just slightly to let James Robbie back into that lower line. He was a bit he was stuck on the outside slightly there. So good team tactics there from the Misfits. But these drivers right in the middle of this very noisy pack of cars, it's going to get pretty stressful. Daniel Stevens and Dean Moll we're also looking at here too. Moll up on we're down on the lower line here. You can see Simon Mazzomo, one of the lap cars, getting very involved in all of this, along with Bowen Curtis there. Other than that, it seems like everyone's just holding station. Gary LaViolette is going to be the next lapped traffic that these guys are going to come across, and it looks like it's going to be fairly simple here. No dramas at all.
LaViolette will just tuck in behind these guys and try and find himself a spot. You just see a few of the guys try and move up the road a little bit and use a bit of the side draft from LaViolette, but I don't think it's going to work that well. And we also see Drew Lalonde is out of the race, so unfortunate for him. He is our second casualty, I should say. Also, Dave Douglas looks like he is day done as well. Disappointing to see 2 cars out. It's taken a long time for us to get any cars out of the race. Have a look at there, Gary LaViolette almost in the wall.
Right, that's getting a bit hardcore down there. Well, he's trying to move back under, but Riley Curtis, I think, probably wouldn't have looked upon that too kindly. Those guys down the back of the pack, and Curtis has lost quite a bit of momentum there. He's going to try and slot back in, but unfortunately there's still a couple of MFR machines making their way through there. Tell you what, it's getting pretty hectic up at the front. Jason Martin with the run.
Yeah, he's just starting to make some moves. Yeah, so he's past Sorensen and now trying to make this outside line work. He's got Matt Muggleton and he's got his teammates in James Robbie and Gavin Sadler all trying to make that outside line work as well. You can see Eric Thorpe trying to push along Cameron Dance to try and get those front 3 to move away a little bit. I don't think it's going to work. I think we're going to see Martin go around the outside here.
Yeah, look at that. He's got his 2 teammates and Muggleton with him there. Muggleton shifting back to the bottom. So those 3 Misfits cars will be 100% working together on the outside to try and reclaim this lead. Look at Dance. He's shifting out there from behind Jones to try and get a little bit of extra air into the radiators of that machine. This is where the games really start to be played. We are only a couple of laps away from the halfway point, Jay.
Yep, and then the strategy games really start to come into play. We thought that the strategies were already starting to unfold. Then nothing to what we'll see in the final 100 laps. We are now only 3 laps away from half race distance. Seeing on the time screen as well, some of the guys back in the pack there, getting up to 332 kilometres an hour. That's incredible pace.
That is very incredible pace from these guys. 327 kilometers an hour for our race leader across the line, just touching 330 as he goes into turn 1. Riding on board with Cameron Dance in P2. You can see the trio of Misfits cars there off to his right, just in the rearview mirror. It's a big game these guys are playing at a very high rate of speed. I just saw Ryan Jones hit 333. Triple 3.
Oh, Dance has been forced wide.
Oh, careful. Right in the middle of that. That's Bo Albert coming back into the fray. Of course, down in 22nd position. And not
watch out! Eric Thorpe just comes up, almost makes door-to-door contact with Jason Martin there. Dance got a little bit squirrely through the tri-oval there. Thought he was going to go wide, and then he come back down, and Eric Thorpe had to check up, but didn't want to put his foot on the brake. Yeah.
He's getting very desperate with that car temperature. You see them moving out of the draft every time. And there we go. Martin through into the lead. They're going 3 wide behind him. Eric Thorpe going to try and go around the outside here of Ryan Jones. He's stuck right in the middle. He's got James Robbie on his right, Jones on his left. And he's going to slot in front. That was very opportunistic there from Eric Thorpe. Now, I get the feeling he's going to try and work with these Misfits guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we will see these guys all start to work together. Wow, what a shot that is.
That's amazing, man.
So Thorpe now leads, Martin second. But I think Jason Martin will take this lead back now. So we're about to complete lap number 100.
Yes, indeed. Matt Muggleton there, I just saw shift up into the high line once again. So now you're really seeing a dichotomy evolve in the field here. You've got almost a complete split down the middle. Half the field going for the bottom line and half the field going for the top line. This is intense.
Half race complete. 250 miles of racing to go.
And if those first 250 miles are anything to go by, this is going to be a cracker.
Have a look at how clear Jason Martin's getting here. He's going to try and make sure he's got enough room so that his teammate James Robbie can come through as well. Maybe even Sadler as well. So this is going to be interesting to see if they can get those 3 cars through and make this outside line work. At the moment, though, it's looking like they have made it work and work fantastic for them. Almost clear.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They've got 3 cars to work with. Thorpe and Jones, for the most part, have only had each other. You can see John Sorensen coming up to the back of them. He might be able to help them get a little bit ahead of the Misfits, but those Misfits guys, all part of the same team, all in the same speaking channel, we can assume. Oh my goodness, what's happening there on the bottom?
Oh no, don't make it 3 wide.
Oh, that's not going to happen. See, that's completely...
Whoa! Illusion cars!
On the bottom! There we go!
That's the big one.
Instantly out! Look at that! That's half the field wiped out! More than half the field! Oh no. That's going to be something to pick apart.
I think if ever we needed a CPR kart parts replay, it was right then and now. That was huge. And again, it was an Illusion Motorsport car that got a little bit aero loose. Just dropped below the line. Cam Dance in the 27k. You saw him try and check up because he didn't know what was going on. And rolling Sorensen upside down for a couple of moments there. That was a huge wreck.
Yeah, certainly was. I thought it was going to start with Ryan Jones going below the line to try and get by Eric Thorpe, but once again, it was started by Sorensen. Unfortunately, it just seems that transition from the flat of the straight to the banking of the turn, that's what unsettled the car.
Yep, and what actually happened at the second part of that too was we saw Dance check up a little bit, and Bo Albert, who was tucked right in behind, just served Dance nothing he could have done. He just given him a little tap because he wouldn't have even realised that Cam was checking up, and that's what started the chain reaction. So, unfortunate. That's what happens in super speedway racing. Have a look here from the car of Cameron Dance. You see the check up. Massive overspeed. The check up. Sorensen starts to spin. He checks up again and just gets a big hit in the rear.
Real shame there. Big shame for a lot of drivers in that field, but they will have had the spare car.
Hopefully most of them.
Yes, indeed. Just getting another view of that from the perspective of Bo Albert. Poor Bo. There was nothing he could do there.
No. Wouldn't have even known that Cam had checked up, so huge incident. We've seen all of our lead cars come in the pits, almost all of them taking 2 tyres. Martin retains the lead of the race. Gavin Sadler now into 2nd position. James Robbie's dropped back to 5th. But see who's still looking like they've got a bit of damage. Gary LaViolette has got himself back on the lead lap. He's a lucky dog as well, so good to see him back out and going again. John Sorensen, though, I think he might be day done, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a large part of the inner chassis of that car exposed at the moment, so that number 64 car looking very much second-hand without any front bodywork at all. Get a really good view of that that Toyota V8 engine powers that Illusion Motorsport Camry. Real shame for those guys, but it does seem like their car is a little sensitive in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, their car seems to have a real bizarre aero push when they've got someone coming alongside them. So something for the rest of the team to think about for the rest of the weekend. Butnak getting back out on track. But yeah, the Illusion cars, unfortunately, haven't had a great run of it tonight. So just seeing there, Bo Albert, Jake Fox, and I believe Simon Mazomo. No, Mazomo's going to stay out, but those guys are all going to come in the pits. That being Albert, Fox, and who else is
Matt
coming in the pits?
Muggleton going back in.
Okay, interesting. Might be coming to
he-
get some more damage fixed.
Possibly. He did follow the leaders in the first time round, but yeah, coming
Front
back
of the
in
car
the
looks a little bit
second
more repaired than what it was earlier.
time. Oh, he's taking tyres again.
Okay, maybe
Or maybe
decided
he forgot to.
Yeah, maybe last pit stop he decided he just wanted to get some damage fixed, get as much
He's getting
damage
both
as
side tyres changed.
Okay, so he might have forgotten about that. Interesting.
Interesting. Very much so.
Wow. The whole
Well,
mood has
indeed.
changed around this race. It's turned into an interesting fight now. It's literally a fight now, this race. These guys are really going to have to work hard and strategize how they're going to play this race. We're just seeing there the car of Daniel Stevens. It is Daytona as well. Unfortunately, the 66 car looks like it is out of the race. It's been stopped now for about 3 minutes or so. So hopefully Daniel can get back out there. He was having a good run. He was just happy sitting at the back of that train of cars. He was just minding his own business, and that car is looking very, very second-hand. His wheels don't look as straight as they should, but he'll hopefully get back out there and push on. But the front of the field, these guys are getting ready to get back under green next lap by.
Yes, indeed. So our leaders have a couple of lapped cars ahead of them, Kukas and Mazomo. So those guys will likely play a factor in this.
They'll get waved by the pace
If they
car
don't
right
get waved
now.
by, yep. Okay, there we go. So we'll wait for Mazomo to get the call, and away he goes. Kukas going to follow him. Meanwhile, the field behind the pace car forming up once again.
And Jason Martin will lead this field once more for the third time when we go green. Third of our 4 green flag starts. He will lead. So you always know that you're having an okay day if you're leading most of the green flag sites.
Yeah, certainly. But as with any motor race, it's all about where you are in those final few laps. So Jason Martin has done everything right in this race so far, as have his misfit teammates, it has to be said. So they're definitely wanting to lock out the podium here. Will they be able to do it? Well, that's going to be another story, which we will find out very, very soon. As soon as they go through this last bank turn and the pace car pulls in, getting ready to go once again. And I have to say, Jay, I've really enjoyed myself with this one.
Oh, I have too. It's been a really, really awesome race. I know last year's Daytona 500 in the international division of the majors was a very, very tough outing. Very, very tough to commentate and broadcast last year because there were so many yellow flag runs. This year, it's been absolute polar opposite. It's been a tough race for a lot of drivers, but when you compare year on year, I think when we reassess post-race, I think everyone will be pretty happy with how it's played out. Maybe not to everyone's liking, not everyone's had a great night, but from the overall perspective, it's been a great show so far as we get ready to go green again.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting to note there, at the moment the green flag flew, Sadler was ahead of Martin, which I don't think will be looked on too kindly by the automated system that runs iRacing events. But we'll see. So Martin on the inside now for this one. Eric Thorpe already getting right on the back of him, trying to bump him a bit further up, but you see Martin's teammates making good use of that outside line there, and I get the feeling this is not what Misfits really want. They want all of their cars to be in a line and working together, but with Martin, their lead guy on the inside, it's probably a bit of an awkward position for them, especially considering that Thorpe, have a look at Thorpe, clambering all over the back of Martin there.
Well, what I think will happen here is I think that Sadler and Robbie will try and go around the outside and come past, and they do. Oh, Tance almost gets a little tap.
Almost followed them in there and made contact with Martin, but this right here, This is what Misfits will be wanting. All three of their cars in a line and working together. That right there is teamwork. That's really good to see from them.
Dance is going to get held out. Oh, almost contact between Dance and Thorpe.
Well, the thing with Dance is he's now the lead car for whatever develops on the outside line. He's got Ryan Jones behind him, remember, a former leader of this race. So those guys will want to work together really well. Well, having just said that, Ryan Jones slots into the inside, leaving Dance up the top.
Yeah, he's got no one to help him out there, so Dance is going to be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to drop all the way to the back of this line and have to do it all by himself, come back through again. He's, someone finding himself in an okay position right now. This is about where he was last year. John King just found himself hovering in the middle of that lead pack, and then all of a sudden the race fell into his hands and he picked up the win last year. Again, just sitting in the top 10, the race just starting to unfold ahead of him. Find himself in for a back-to-back if he continues this sort of action. Know that he was talking to us before the race that he and Jason always seem to find themselves very, very close in all of these races. So there's every chance that they could come almost like a magnet and come close together again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's Chris Purnell there on the high line, letting everybody go. Unfortunate for him, he was running pretty well in the early stages of the race, but I am looking forward to seeing what King can do in these circumstances, because there is a little bit of technical issue happening for Will Leslie, I'm noticing, which is definitely not going to work out too well for the people behind him. Misfits, though, plus Eric Thorpe, look to be right on it here. Looks like we've had another little separation in the packs there. You can see them both on screen right now. Roughly the same amount of cars in both of them.
Yeah, so Riley Curtis is leading that secondary pack. Top 9 broken away a little bit from the rest of the pack. You got Curtis and you got Bo Albert, Matt Muggleton, Gary LaViolette, and also Matthew Cloak, Robert Northway in that pack, as well as Simon Mazzomo. And Dean Mole has dropped from that pack, whose damage might be slowing him up a little bit too much. D. Palmer tucked in behind the number 5 of Alex Sheridan. The 85 of Scott Kukas as well. So at the moment, Dutnak is the first car one lap down. He and Jake Fox have just both been passed by the lead train. So as it is right now, Dutnak would be the lucky dog. In saying that, Mazzomo just gets past him. Mazzomo now would be the lucky dog. It's been a long time since Mazzomo would have been on the lead lap. If he can manage to get back on the lead lap, that would be a very, very good comeback from him.
Yeah, it certainly would, and I'll be watching him with interest to see what he can do. What I'm also interested in drawing your attention to is Daryl Hockey. He's flown under the radar a bit in this one, but he started 29th. He is now running in 6th. He's managed to keep that thing clean and mostly out of trouble. It's really paying off for him at the moment.
He started dead last. He was the last car on the grid, and he's now in 6th position, kept it clean, looking very, very good. His pace looks good. Consistency looks good. CMR team driver. He's quite happy with how he's going at the moment. As you see the 66 of Daniel Stevens back out on track. Great to see. He is a few laps down, but he's back out on track, which is always what we want to see.
Yeah, it's all about the points finishes, because you've got to remember this is a really big race, but it is but one race in a much longer, year-long championship. So any kind of points that you can get at any race, they will count towards the end. And you really want to make sure that you get that done. But Hockey looking a bit adventurous there, as is Matt Muggleton. These guys have started to fall back a bit from that lead pack.
Yeah, Bo Albert leading the train now. It was Riley Curtis that was leading the train not that long ago. So Curtis is tucked in behind the car of Bo Albert. Probably Curtis's damage was forcing them to drop off that train a little bit, so they've decided, or Riley Curtis has decided to drop in behind, see if it makes a difference. Also in the pack there, as we said, Robert Northway. And Matt Muggleton around the outside, not able to get it to work. He's going to drop to the back of that train. Back at the front though, this front 4 working very well together. That secondary pack drop and then close up again, drop, close back. Will Leslie struggling to hold onto the back of this lead pack. But it's now a 9-car train at the front of the field. Ryan Jones is the last car in this lead pack. Only 9 cars in it. This means caution is out.
Yeah, wonder what that was for.
Dean Mole and Dee Palmer are around in the background.
Goodness me, that's a real shame for them. CPR kart parts replay for you right now. It just looks to me like it was a simple coming together, coming through the tri-oval, it seems. Oh,
Sheridan.
Goodness me. Yeah, wow.
I think Sheridan was thinking about moving over to let them through, or maybe had a little lapse in concentration. But Sheridan, big hit in the wall. That car was already heavily damaged, but it's even more damaged now.
Yeah, absolutely. Big old whack of the wall at the end of that. We're going to get another view of that here. Of course, thanks to CPR Kart Parts for their generous sponsorship of our replays. I think that might have just been a lapse of concentration. Yep. Not quite realizing that the wall was coming up on him. And have a look at this final hit. Oh. That's a fair whack of the wall.
Tyre bundle doesn't often get hit in oval racing. You usually get a little bit more contact in the road side of things for the 24-hour circuit, but tell you what, I got a very, very big hit there.
Yeah, absolutely did. Big shame for those guys. Already had a fair amount of rotten luck in this one, getting caught up in a few wrecks, but they've still got time to fight their way back.
Yep. Simon Mazzomo will get the lucky dog right now as well, so he will get back onto the lead lap in the 969. A 4th caution. We're going to see most of the cars come in again. Did a 12-lap stint there, so anything over about 8 laps, you probably might as well come in and top the fuel back up. The interesting thing, we've got 84 laps to go. You know that the pack can get about 36 laps to a tank, so go 36 from when we go green. So 119 plus 36, that's 145. Leaves us with about 15 laps at the end. So it's
of course,
interesting.
With another couple of cautions, that could really
Thorpe.
stretch out the tank for them. Oh,
has Thorpe got ahead? He has.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Good stop from Thorpe.
Yeah, Jason Martin's still up ahead of these guys, but Thorpe has managed to jump both Sadler and Robbie. And Ryan Jones has come out ahead of Robbie as well. So
Ryan Jones with a really, really short stop, only 6.4 seconds. I'm wondering if Jones has just gone fuel, no tyres.
That may have been it. Maybe he has confidence in the grip that car has left to give him.
They've just decided that only 10 flying laps, there's no point worrying about tyres. You can go 40, 50 laps on a stint of tyres, so they don't wear too much. You notice the difference between the end of a stint and the start of a stint, so maybe that's what he's done, not sure. Will Leslie, the first driver to take 4 tyres.
Well, another thing that you got to remember in Jones's case, maybe he's thinking about the conditions as well, because as the sun dips lower and there's less ultraviolet light hitting the track, then tyre wear is going to be a little bit better.
Correct, yeah. Of course, half the track now in shadow, so means pretty much...
Maybe that's enough for him to save the tyres.
Maybe. It's definitely going to be a factor as we see. As we're on board here with Jason Martin, you're going to see all of the lap cars that want to come into the pits. They're all going to come in now. What is interesting is there's a few cars that are going to come past the pace car here when we go green in 2 laps time that are going to get laps back. We're going to see Scott Kukas back on the lead lap. Just seen Alexander Sheridan's missed his pit box. He's had to reverse back up. But also going to get a wave by as well is Daniel Stevens. It's going to put him 5 laps down. So he's going to start to move his way forward. Shane Bowen also 5 laps down. So that's a position gain essentially for Daniel Stevens when he gets waved by the pace car, knowing that his car's probably a little bit better in regards to pace than Shane Bowen's car has been all race long.
Yes, indeed. I'm surprised that Bowen, in spite of everything that's happened to him, he's still out there. He's still plugging away. His car is looking a lot more second-hand than it was as he comes out of the pits, but Jake Fox as well. That car of Jake Fox's doesn't even have a front end. My apology.
Well, it'd be cool.
Yeah, he won't have to worry so much about pulling out in the draft.
No, he won't have to worry about the car overheating, but I don't think the aerodynamics will be helping him that much anyway.
Possibly. Well, stock cars aren't exactly aerodynamic to start with, are they? So, who knows? It might not be that much of a disadvantage.
Pretty sure that with that damage, there'll be with that visual damage, there'll be some other damage as well, whether it be suspension or something that will be limiting the amount of horsepower that car is producing. So, I'm sure that it won't be running at its optimal pace, despite that damage. Jake Fox is 4 laps down. He's the only car 4 laps down at the moment. We've got 4 cars that are still 1 lap down in this race. D. Palmer, Dudnak, Sheridan and Albert are all 1 lap down. And we have now got 17 cars back on the lead lap. When we stopped for this caution period, we only had 16 on the lead lap. We are now back to 17. Which is good to see that we're increasing the number of cars on the lead lap. We get ready to go green again.
We do indeed. Lights on the pace car are out, and you know, in spite of the caution and the crashes that we have seen, the amount that I've been impressed by everyone's conduct in this race is still very, very high. We've had an incredibly good few green flag runs so far.
That first huge long green flag run, that was impressive, and I think it caught not only us off guard, but I think it caught out half the field off guard. I don't think anyone was prepared for green flag pit stops at lap 50. I don't think anyone in the field was ready for that. I think everyone was happy that we had it. In the same breath, I don't think anyone was ready for it.
Nah, just sitting there in the cockpit with the shifty eyes as you go through turns 3 and 4, like, is someone going to crash? Come on, guys.
Is someone going to crash? Please be behind me.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Jason Martin will lead the field away. 81 laps to go. We're almost at 2/3 race distance. Cameron Dance.
What are you doing, Cam?
Just, I mean, we know he's a dirt racer, but he's trying to get some extra dirt on his tyres. I'm wondering if he actually has to come into the pits. Who's getting down there? I think that might be what's going on. We'll find out in a second. But the pace car is in. Away we go.
Yes, indeed. Away we go, indeed. Waiting for the green flag. Martin goes. And that's a very good start for the bottom line there. Dance staying out. I'm not quite sure why he decided to go down to the apron there. I guess, you know, it's not under racing conditions, so it's legal. Who knows? But Sadler and Robbie will follow Martin through. They're going to continue flying in formation. These Misfit Motorsports machines. Eric Thorpe now has Cam Dance and Ryan Jones and Matt Muggleton to contend with.
I think Thorpe's decided he won't have to worry about Dance, but you can see how loose the car got there. Thorpe's been left hung out for dry. Too dry even.
That's a very twitchy car that Thorpe's got.
Yeah, it didn't look comfortable there.
No, certainly not. You can see he's sort of struggling. The car's even rotating slightly through the banking on the tri-oval. So Thorpe, I think, much more comfortable when he's following a car versus being out on his own there.
Yeah, he doesn't look comfortable at all. The side draft on the left-hand side of the car as well, probably the first time he's had that all race. Because I don't think we've seen him tuck out to the outside line much in this race as well. He's just been happy following people through on the inside line. Thorpe, you're going to try and, I'm going to think he'll try and tuck in ahead of Ryan Jones here, but he might not be close enough. The speed difference, don't! Oh!
Not do it! Oh! Goodness me! NASCAR!
Wow, Will Leslie, I think, saw that coming and he got out of the throttle. Daryl Hockey probably saw it too. But we've got into line 80 to go, or 79 to go even. We start lap number 122 of the 2019 Major Series Daytona 500.
Oh, what a race this has been. So many heart-stopping moments all throughout. Fantastic stuff. But they've now gotten back into their single file best, have most of the field. And Jason Martin continuing to lead, and Misfit occupy the top 3 spots. Look at Matthew Clote's run there, my goodness.
No good at having a run when you can't use it though, that's the only downfall to that. Clote is the last car in this train. There's 17 cars in this pack. 16 cars on the lead lap. One car, one lap down, that being Bo Albert. You can see him there in the 06. So quite a few cars in this pack of cars. And again, it's almost gone back to what we saw at the start of the race, where everyone just looks content for a moment. Saying that we get onto the back straight and everyone shuffles out and goes wide again.
Yeah, everyone just moving side to side, making sure that their visual references are good.
Oh no!
Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Dance. Oh, almost recovered it. That's probably going to be a caution. Why hasn't the caution come out yet? There we go. That's that done. My goodness. Just getting a little bit loose on the bottom.
Yeah, Matt Muggleton there just made contact into the rear of Cameron Dance, and I think he and Thorpe there both didn't look comfortable in their positions at all. I think both of them almost wanted to be the opposite positions. Get another CPR car parts replay.
I'll tell you what, Dance almost had that saved twice, but very unfortunately went straight to the top. Fortunately, not as many cars were taken out this time. Yeah, you see that.
Thorpe actually gave Muggleton a bit of a tap, and that's what's caused all of the incident. I just say Will Leslie, really unfortunate to get involved in that. And also, man that we said had gone really under the radar, Daryl Hockey, heavy damage for him. Looks like he hopefully can get a spare car and get back out there, but engine damage for him.
That's a big shame. They still got plenty of time, though, these guys.
So there's the bump draft there. So that shuffles Muggleton to the inside, couldn't go anywhere else. And that's just started the chain reaction behind.
Yeah, that's just an awful lot of things going wrong at once, all contributing to one massive error by a few people.
I'll watch the rear contact first here on board with Matt Muggleton. So he gets a bump there, unsettles the car, forces him to drop below the yellow line, couldn't go anywhere else, and then he just makes contact into the rear of Dance as he's tried to get it back under control.
That's a real shame for those guys. Not that I don't think you can really assign blame to Muggleton or Dance there.
No, I agree. I think, well, fortunately, Thorpe has to take most of the blame for that incident. He's the one that's actually got away with it too, so that disappointing for the other drivers. But fifth caution of the race at lap 125. It's been pretty good for the most part. The cautions that we've seen have been a couple of lapses in concentration, but I think when we get to this phase of the race, you sort of expect that to start to happen.
Yeah, that's right. These races, very long. Of course, the race length of most NASCAR events, I would presume, is designed to make sure that spectators can have a good day out at the track. There's always some racing going on, so that's it's good for the spectators, good for the families that bring their kids to watch some racing. But for the drivers, it's very taxing, even in the sim world.
Bo Albert gets the lucky dog back onto the lead lap. Where Leslie, Cameron Dance and Daryl Hockey all look like they may be day done. They have already used their spare cars, so they're in the pits getting damage fixed. But Daryl Hockey, extreme amount of damage to his car. Absolute innocent bystander. He has a blown engine and looks like he will be done.
Yeah, big shame for Hockey. I was talking about his fantastic run from the rear of the field all the way up to 6th before. Get the feeling if that hadn't happened, he could have been a real dark horse choice for possible podium or victory here. He was doing very well, was Hockey.
Speaking of dark horses, John King now into 6th.
How about that? How about that? John King, and it's that attitude that let John King towards the win last year in the Daytona 500, all about staying out of trouble and making sure that you're in the right place at the right time, as we see Robert Northway making his way out of the pit stop there.
11th pit stop for Northway.
11th. My goodness.
11th stop. Back out he comes for the 12th time.
Righto.
He's still on the lead lap too, so he's got that car. We saw how heavily damaged that car was earlier. Almost looks new again.
Yeah, certainly does. Well, hopefully for him, he'll be able to make his way further up the field and join his Misfits teammates.
Matthew Cloak's still stopped at the moment. He's getting some more damage fixed as well. We'll hopefully get back out on track and stay on the lead lap as Jason Martin comes up past the bus stop chicane on the road course into turn 3. We've got under 75 laps of racing to go.
And if the rest of this race is anything to go by, it's going to be a very quick 75 laps. Do you think we'll see another round of green flag pit stops, Jay?
Undecided. I'm undecided. If we can get a decent run here, I think some teams might risk a green flag stop. I don't know if it's the right ploy. I think you need to run as long as you possibly can. If we have another caution in, say, 6 or 7 laps, that will then make it really, really interesting as to what drivers and teams do, whether they risk it and hope another caution comes out, or whether they try something and roll the dice. It's going to be an interesting little period now. The next 10 laps really going to dictate how this race is going to unfold, I think.
Yep, so we'll be watching it intently. If you've just joined us, you are watching the International Majors Daytona 500. We are SimSpeed TV presenting this race on the iRacing Esports Network. And it is our honor to bring this racing to you. It certainly has been a fantastic one. Check out the subscribe button down there. Hover your mouse over it and click it. It really helps.
That was a massive weekend of racing here on the iRacing Esports Network too. Massive week as well with the start of the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series starting Tuesday night American time, Wednesday morning for us here in Australia, or Wednesday afternoon actually. It's 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. $100,000 up for grabs this year. It's going to be awesome.
Yep, one of the biggest prize pools in history of sim racing, and the amount that that NASCAR and Porsche have put up as well for the Road Pro Championship really shows how seriously the motorsport world is now taking sim racing. Thank you so much to these companies for coming on board. Really helps the hobby transition into the fantastic esport we all know it to be. Well, we are getting ready to go green once more. Jason Martin leading the field away, and his misfit teammates alongside and behind him. They're going to have to coordinate this start very well. Green flag out. Jason Martin away. See that Eric Thorpe, I think, got a really good jump there behind Gavin Sadler. Really pressuring him on the outside now. Martin has a little bit of a gap, and it's going to take a while, I think, for these guys to sort themselves out and get into that single file. We know them to have. Oh, so close was Thorpe there to James Robbie. And you see Thorpe, once again, a very twitchy car. He does not look comfortable on that high line.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't like having someone beside him on that inside either. It doesn't look comfortable at all. But he's got his teammate in John King, Team Boss, coming up behind him. So that could help calm his nerves, help him sort himself out as well. But have a look at Simon Mazzomo. Remember, what, 60 laps ago? He was 2 laps down, almost 3 laps down. He's in 7th, 8th. How did that happen?
My goodness. Oh, Simon.
How did that happen? I'm dumbfounded.
This is as good as mine, mate. I have absolutely no idea. He's done some pit stop trickery, pit stop witchcraft around there to get that done.
Done something.
He certainly has, but he is now in the running for this one. This is going to be an awesome finish if this is anything to go by. The Misfit cars still running 1, 2, 3, but have a look at Thorpe coming up on the high line. He's still sticking to that high line, hasn't had the opportunity to swat down more towards the yellow line.
I think the issue that Thorpe is finding is he's trying to use the side draft too much, and then the car's becoming unsettled and he's not coping with it. I think he'll tuck in here just in front of his teammate in John King here, and he'll tuck in 5th in line. What that'll do, it'll mean Mazzomo will be hung out. There we go, right on cue. Mazzomo will have to drop back.
Neat. Very neatly done from Eric Thorpe.
Yep. So we've got 17 cars in this pack. 16 of those on the lead lap.
That's awesome figures to see. I'll tell you what, the top 4 starting to break away from these guys, because have a look at Ryan Jones. He's managed to latch onto the back of James Robbie, and these guys are starting to form their own little breakaway pack.
They are, and Jones looks so much more comfortable as being the trailing car instead of being the leading car. Saw him lead that big group of cars after the big long green flag run and green flag pit stops, and just didn't look like he had the pace when he was the lead car. But the trailing car, as the one doing the pushing and helping from behind, he looks like he's a lot more comfortable and has a lot more pace. So he much better suited to be there, and we could even see the top 5 breakaway here as John King not quite latching onto the back of his teammate in Eric Thorpe. Thorpe looks so much better now that he's on that inside line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's definitely found his groove. That is definitely a multi-tiered phrase. Multiple meanings to that one. But have a look at King. He's starting to come back there across the tri-oval section of the lap. It's through these turns and around the back that you start to see top 5 break away, but everyone else behind seems to get it done much better through the tri-oval.
So Matthew Clote is the last car in this pack now. 14 cars in this lead pack. Cam Dance has dropped from this lead train. He's just trying to latch onto the back of Dave Douglas. Great to see Dave's back out on track. He's gone 40 laps down, but he is back out on track.
Awesome to see. Make it to the end, Dave. You'll pick up some valuable championship points there.
So this is what that pack looked earlier on. It just looked comfortable. Everyone just being nose to tail. Everyone just sort of waiting for someone else to do something, doesn't it? Just looks like everyone's happy and content for now.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. Matt Muggleton doesn't look like he is particularly content with slotting himself in. He's there on the high line, followed by Matt Clote and Robert Northway. And Northway, I think, is going to be a man on a mission. Have a look at the run that he's had on Riley Curtis there. Northway doing very well at the moment. He's getting those good runs. That's what he needs if he wants to join his teammates up the front. Sun dipping lower and lower in the sky, shadows getting ever longer. Half the track well and truly in shadow now. Simon Mazzomo as well, another man to watch.
Jones has pulled out from that inside line.
He's
got Matt Muggleton there with him. What that's meant now, though, is Eric Thorpe will be on that inside line. But have a look, Matthew Clote is closed up really quickly up to the front of the train. We always see Ryan Jones come on through and potentially take the lead away. That'll be interesting if he does.
Yeah, this is very intriguing. It's I think the waiting period was over. The calculations were done, the strategizing was complete, and now these guys have just leaped out of the bottom line, try and bait their own territory. Looks like once again the bottom line has the advantage through the turns, but the top line, with that extra momentum they get from launching off the ramp of the banking going onto the straights, that is where their big strength. Doesn't seem to be working as well for them in that second phase.
Not now, anyway. Not at the moment. But we saw how well the Misfit cars were working that outside line earlier, so could just be actually speaking and communicating within the team. I know that the guys on the outside at the moment are not teammates, so I don't believe they'll be in direct communication with each other. There is a chance that they are, but I don't believe so, as they're just coming past Daniel Stevens. There's another lap down, but still going, which is great to see. Also seeing in the secondary pack there, Bo Albert's decided he's had enough and he wants to come around the outside too. But that lead 7 cars have definitely broken away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, they absolutely have. It's looking, it's starting to look just ever more uncomfortable as time goes on, because you're seeing those guys.
I think I said too much too soon, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look, there are those periods of comfort and calm when everyone's sort of okay with what they're doing, but then you spend a couple of laps going too wide through these corners, and you start to get a little bit skittish. You see there Matt Muggleton slotting back in to the inside line. He's had enough of sitting behind Jones, fighting a losing battle, it seems. So you see him already starting to go by now. Float and Jones, I think they will slot into, and they do.
Yeah, and that next pack is actually closing back up again as well. So see there, John King's right behind Matthew Clote again. So we saw those front 7 pull nearly 4/10 of a second, about 5/10 of a second almost. Now that lead train of 13 cars is all together. Cameron Dance has been well and truly dropped. He's now 15 seconds behind the leader. Riley Curtis is just holding on at the rear of this train, but I think he might be starting to struggle too much now, as he's about 10 kilometres down, well and truly out of draft range now. So yeah, just also come past Alexander Sheridan, another car that's heavily damaged but still going, which is what we want to see. He was, of course, involved in bringing out the 4th caution in this race.
Yes, indeed. Way down on straight line speed is Sheridan with that heavily damaged car, but everyone else going along, motoring along fine. You can really see the glare off the tarmac now with the sun that low in the sky. In those virtual cockpits, it's going to get harder and harder to see properly.
Yep, the light does definitely affect drivers. The glare is such a huge impact in how these guys go. You can see the car's really starting to move around through the mid-corner as well. I just saw there James Robbie had a massive twitch coming out of turn 4. But they're all looking comfortable again. Now that they've all come back into one big long pack and one big long train again, I think they're all a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. You can see Eric Thorpe starting to move around a little bit more now, probably get a bit more air into that air dam. But, other than that, I'll have a look at that. Right on cue, a couple of drivers just leap out a few more gulps of clean air, and back in they go.
Oh, Thorpe sideways coming into turn 3.
Moment. That was a very big moment there.
That was scary.
Yeah, wouldn't want to be in the passenger seat of that one if it had a passenger seat, which it doesn't.
And I'm glad it doesn't, because I wouldn't want to be there.
Jones going for the move on Muggleton on the outside. Following him through is Matt Clote.
Clote's one to watch here. He's a very, very underrated oval driver. He's one to watch coming up to the end of this race. We're into the final third as well.
Absolutely are. And look at that, Muggleton joining them once again. Look at the run that Ryan Jones has. That is quite impressive.
Is he going to be able to maintain it on the outside? We need another driver to come up there and help.
Yeah.
Someone wants to get it a little bit ambitious and get out there and give it a try. They probably will pay off, but I know that Thorpe doesn't look like he's too confident on the outside, so he doesn't look like he's too willing to be the one to do it. Muggleton probably still down on straight line speed with that little bit of damage on the right-hand side, so he doesn't look willing as well. So I might have to tuck back in the line again.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. They've had a couple of tries at this outside line coup d'etat, but unfortunately doesn't seem to have worked for them. So Jason Martin, your leader still. That is a terrifying shot.
Scary, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like standing at a railway crossing and watching a freight train come towards you. Once again, everyone slots in single file. We are seeing a lot more peaking than we have in past laps, though. Drivers just weaving around
Albert!
A little bit. Whoa!
See the momentum that Bo Albert had. He had to check up and go to the outside. He's almost going to run into the rear of Dean Mile.
I think Bo's thinking now's the time to attack, because he's probably banking on there being at least one more caution towards the end of this one, and he wants to be as high up as he possibly can when that time comes, or if that time comes. He's got some very good pace there, has Albert. Remember, he got a penalty, went a lap down, but he's managed to recover, and he's now well and truly in the top 10 as they come up to, we're almost at 3/4 race distance.
Amazing how the pace of this race has been. And a leader on screen though, led so many of the laps in this race has Jason Martin. Gavin Sadler, James Robbie, they've done a fantastic job of just being there to help, and just seeing as well Daniel Stevens getting lapped again. Poor guy hasn't had the best night out, has he, Daniel?
No, certainly not. Real shame to see, because, you know, those guys are the ones that always rock up to every race meet and try their hardest.
MFR have been a big supporter of the series, so it's great to see them out there.
Hats off to the middle finger boys. They've been awesome supporters of the Majors series.
Of course, if you do want to be a part of the Major series, you can. Series registration open throughout the year. Head to pacificmajors.com. Next round in the series. One of their favourites from last year, Reese. Different track for it though. Last year we saw the classic 2.4 of Daytona with the Camel GT cars. This year we're going to do it at Sebring.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to that one. Taking the Nissan GTP ZXT and the Audi 90 GTO around Sebring. One of those tracks that I believe both cars raced at. Not quite sure about the Audi, but I do know the Nissan did race there. So it's going to be a big return to the 80s. Going to get out my my synthwave playlist for that one.
Lap traffic up ahead for our lead pack. Just seeing Matthew Clotes dropped a long way off the back of the train there. Have a look how far back he is.
Yeah, that's quite interesting to see as they go by Shane Bowen. Clote, much further back.
Oh, this is messy.
Oh no. Oh, no caution though. Miraculous that they all escaped that. Goodness me.
I don't know how they all got through there.
Jeez.
But,
well, it's resulted in a couple of shuffles of position.
Yeah, it has, and there's also a secondary pack form behind Ryan Jones. So Mazomo and Jones, as well as Northway, will have to start to work together. As, Bo Albert has got ahead of Matt Muggleton as well. It looks like they've already formed up and starting to close that gap up as well.
Yeah, Matt Muggleton, he's been up and down, but still around the top 10.
He's had a yo-yo of a race, hasn't he?
Yeah, certainly has, but it's always been up more towards the pointy end,
yep.
which is quite impressive to see. So the Delta Force guy probably looking to have one final charge towards the end of the race. He's just banking on whatever form that final pit stop takes.
Interesting that the leaders, the lead 6 cars all pitted under caution number 4, did not pit under caution 5. So they are now on 31 lap old tyres. Of course, they did have a stint under caution. So probably going to get about 40 laps to a tank. It means that they're going to have about 42 laps to go. Which means they're going to have to do 2 stops.
Yeah, if even with another caution, or will another
even
caution
with another caution might make it very borderline. So it puts the likes of Bo Albert, Matt Muggleton, Ryan Jones. No, Ryan Jones is actually in the same boat as our leaders. Matt Muggleton, Bo Albert, Simon Mazomo, Robert Northway. Robert Northway's been in 12 times. Those extra pit stops could pay off later on in the race, as we're about to get to 3 quarters of this race complete. 1 quarter to go. 51 laps of racing left in this one.
Yes, indeed. This is fantastic to see. Once again, just how much green flag running we've got as we ride on board with Ryan Jones. That's Matt Muggleton that he is following. Great run that they've got out of the last turn there, going through the tri-oval. So these guys, I'm sure, will be aware of the situation that the leaders are in, and they will be aware that they have a very good chance of getting onto the top step of the podium here.
This outside line starting to get a little bit of momentum. The 3 cars working now, so you can see Matthew Clote in there too, and you can also see in the background there the 46 car Robert Northway also starting to work that outside line. He's decided against it at the last second, but I think if they can get 4 cars on the outside, they might actually make it work. At the moment, I don't think 3's enough. Definitely saw 2 wasn't enough. 3 doesn't look like it'll be enough. They can get 4. on that outside line, that could be enough to throw those guys up into the lead of the race.
Yeah, absolutely could.
Oh, lap
They
traffic
just need
again,
one
though.
more guy to join them. Oh, this may get awkward. That is Scott Kukas and Mirko Dotonac plus Cameron Dance up ahead. Will Leslie and Daniel Stevens up ahead of them. So these guys all battling for lower positions in the fall. Okay. Okay. Gently does it, boys.
Oh, Daniel Stevens too. We've seen him slow. They've got through.
Oh.
I don't know how.
Yeah, you can probably tell me and Jay a little bit speechless there. We were just watching, waiting. Something was going to happen, but ultimately it did not.
So this is the 35th lap in this stint. So we're thinking maybe 6 more laps for our lead. Now it's only lead 4 cars. As we see now, 3 wide as Ryan Jones starts to thread the needle.
Yep, going to position as the lead car in that little sub-pack up on the outside line. These guys would surely be thinking about the next pit stop to come around.
It's probably all they're thinking at the moment, which what that does though, that means that you're lapsing your concentration on actually racing. That's when we start to see mistakes. So these guys are going to be careful. While they do need to concentrate on working out what they need to do pit strategy wise, can't let that impact their racing. Gary LaViolette looks really comfortable just sitting at the back of this train though, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. He absolutely does down there in 13th position. He's just hanging back, and that's one of the things that I found I like to do when I'm racing in ovals, is just hang back a little bit, watch what everyone in the pack ahead is doing. Not only does it give you a bit more perspective, it also gives you a bit more time to prepare if a crash happens in front.
Yeah, 100%, especially now as we're getting into the final phase of the race. Green flag stops potentially coming up. Whoever gets in and out of the pits best could win this race. That could be all it comes down to.
Yep, exactly. And you know, we've broadcast plenty of road races at Sim Speed that have been decided by pit stop
Muggleton,
times.
good move.
Oh yeah, very good stuff there from Muggleton. But this one could once again be decided by who nails their stop, which you don't see too often in oval racing like this. Usually pit stops under caution, much more orderly, much more mistake-free, but the pressure really goes up if you're pitting under green flag.
Yep, definitely does. Making sure you get the pit entry absolutely perfect. Stopping on your mark. You don't want to overshoot your pit box. If you do that, that could end your race. And we've already seen a large portion of drivers overshoot their pit box once or twice. So you just see there, Matt Muggleton and Derek Thorpe both dropped below the yellow line to maintain momentum. But that was almost... That sort of thing there can pretty much end the race for a large portion of these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely could. One wrong step, and that's all the drivers behind them wiped out. So they do have to be very careful up the pointy end here. But you can see Muggleton, I think one of the star drivers of this race outside of the top 3.
I
He
agree.
has been able to keep that right there. Matthew Clote having some adventures, it seems, judging by your voice, Jay.
Yeah, he almost ran into the rear of Violet there. I thought he was going to make heavy contact, and we could have seen something disastrous, but he did a good job of just washing off some speed. So go back. James Robbie now behind Matt Muggleton, because he's gone for another adventure around the outside. Muggleton is the only one that looks willing at this stage, along with Ryan Jones, to try this outside, try something different, try and create something.
Yeah, it seems like no one is willing to follow him this time, though. I think most of the guys have gotten a bit burnt out on using that high line. Ryan Jones among them. He slipped all the way to the back of this pack. So Obviously not where it's at for him, and you see Matt Muggleton actually losing quite a bit of pace there as well. I think what he might be doing as he slips behind Bo Albert and his compatriots, I think what Muggleton might be doing is lining up a charge to the finish once these last pit stops are completed, and he wants to be as far back as possible, get as much draft as he can, and vault himself up to the front.
Every chance of that. That could be what is going through his head right now. We are now on lap number 42 in this stint of fuel and tyres for the front 6 cars. Continuing on, of course, there was 2 caution periods that they have had. They pitted under one of those cautions and had an extra caution period as well. So they have had a few extra laps to save a bit of fuel, but they can't have much left in the tank. They need to stretch it out as long as they can at the front of the field. Big thing is the guys behind are going to have a huge advantage because they will need to take less fuel. The likes of Muggleton, Clote, Albert, Mizomo, Northway, LaViolette all need less fuel than the front 3 at this present stage. Have a look at Matthew Clote. He was at the back of the field not that long ago, or back of the train I should say. Now trying to help Matt Muggleton push up to the front.
Goodness me, that's quite the 180 that we're seeing there from Matt Clote. They're on the verge of getting it done, my goodness. That's crazy, the pace that those guys suddenly had as they surged around the outside. But, they're getting very close here. The top 5 now battling. Eric Thorpe's fallen behind slightly.
I wonder if they're starting to set up now, knowing that they've got to come into the pits maybe this time. Like, well, let's back off a little bit, give ourselves enough room so that we can brake, and brake clearly. Will we see them all jump in now? 40 to go when they come up to the line.
Well, let's have a look.
Here we go.
Here we go. Yep. They are all coming
all in.
Oh, half the field at once coming into the pits. Bit of a lock-up there from, I think that was...
Muggleton had a big lock-up. So Muggleton will jump this group here. He and Ryan Jones both have the shortest amount of fuel to put in. Matthew Clote, Robert Northway, Dean Mole, Simon Mizomo, Bo Albert, Gary LaViolette have all continued on. This six-car pack here all need to work together. Dean Mole will have the longest stop out of this group. Wowee.
Oh, this is great. This is what we came here for. They're all the Misfit cars taking left side tyres. Have a look at Muggleton. He's managed to vault them. He's vaulted them all. There we go.
Yep. James Robbie just getting up to speed now at the back of the train. He's very, very slow in the pits. Leaders continue on. Clote and Mole have come in though.
Right, so this is very interesting. Robert Northway assumes the race lead. Simon Mizomo second, Bo Albert third, Gary LaViolette in 4th place. See drivers coming out of the pits. That was John King that they just went by.
And have a look at those effective lead group. Sadler, Martin, Muggleton, Thorpe has hung with them. Ryan Jones trying to catch onto the back. John King might be too far back, and James Robbie, he is done.
Yeah, he certainly is. Robbie was, that was a very bad pit stop from him. Obviously not to his liking, but goodness me, the battling is very hard here for the current on-track lead of the race as these guys come up to the, they're basically lapping the guys that have just come out of the pits, but that is going to change very, very soon.
I think these guys need to jump in the pits next lap. They're going to get held up if they let these guys go too long. They'll start to lose a little bit of ground as we're 3 wide. Jason Martin.
Oh no.
Simon Mizomo. So we're coming past Matthew Clote. So Clote now getting into this pack as well as he's just come out of the pits. And in comes Bo Albert. And Gary LaViolette. LaViolette, big lock up. They're both locked up. And Albert around. Oh, just holds on. Just held on. But LaViolette will have a penalty from that. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that will be an unsafe pit entry. He did hit the cone on entry, so that's very unfortunate for Gary.
Northway and Mizomo still yet to pit.
Will they come in this time round? They're coming through NASCAR 3 and 4. Going to be an interesting one. Mazomo, you can see already hanging a bit lower. Try and get it done there. He's going in. Northway is staying out. We've got another couple of cars coming in front of Mazomo. How's this going to go for him? Mazomo hits the cone as well. Oh.
May get away with it, but LaViolette, definitely a penalty. He's only just leaving the pit lane now, so he's got a stop and hold penalty, 15 seconds. He is done. Leaves us with about 8 or 9 contenders. So we've gone from 15 down to 13. Now we've got 8 or 9.
Well, this is where
Bo Albert's coming out. He's going to get right into the middle of the pack as well, so this is going to mean that he is still in contention.
Here we go, boys and girls, get ready.
Oh!
This is not good. Oh.
If he can latch onto the back of this train, he'll be okay. He might actually get dropped. Matthew Clote's going to have to try and help him. He might get dropped as well. Northway still continuing on.
Yes, indeed, and Eric Thorpe still struggling here. Little bit of contact, big bump there for Matt Muggleton from Eric Thorpe, who is struggling to keep that car pointed in a straight line. Tell you what, the Misfit guys, they looked so orderly and calm at the lead of the race before, but now they are forced to work their way up again as they pass lap traffic on the bottom.
Oh, this is messy.
Oh no.
Lap traffic low, lap traffic high. They get through somehow.
Oh, goodness me. There's another car coming in. That's
Northway.
Northway goes in from the lead of the race, so now this becomes the actual lead.
Albert might be able to get onto the back of the train here. It's 0.7 of a second. That's enough to get some draft. But as it is right now, that lead pack of 6 are the 6 contenders for the race. If Northway can get out and get into this pack, we could find ourselves with 7, 8 or 9 contenders. Albert and Clote are closing, so they might be able to get in there and find themselves in contention for this race as well.
Northway only took right side tyres, so he's got a very good pit stop time. He's just coming up to pit exit now.
Needs to catch the lead pack, or the effective lead pack at the right time. If he doesn't, he'll be race done, as we've just seen Simon Mazomo get past. He did get a penalty as well for his pit entry. So he's gone a lap down. 34 laps to go.
Yes, indeed. There's Robert Northway. And the rest
He's going to get swapped.
The contenders behind him, yep, he is well and truly going to get creamed by these guys when they come through. We shall see. Just reaching 290 Ks as Robert Northway, but these guys are doing nearly 330. Through they go. Northway stuck on the bottom. That is frightening to watch as a spectator. How would it be as a driver?
Oh.
But now Northway, on the back of this pack, and he's going to have to work together with Bo Albert to try and make something of this.
So now we have our full field pitted. Matt Muggleton leads for now. Eric Thorpe in second, Gavin Sadler, Jason Martin, Ryan Jones, Dean Mole, Matthew Clote, Bo Albert and Robert Northway. They are the 9 in this lead pack. We're going to stay focused with this lead 9 because it is down to these 9.
Look at Muggleton weaving. My goodness. Got a very good run there. Did Sadler and Martin.
And Albert and Northway are dropped all the way off the back of this train. Mazomo's going to try and come and help them, but they could be gone. Then there were 7.
And then there were 7. It looks like Sadler and Martin have done everything that they need to do. They are now the top 2. Ryan Jones, though, continuing to try and stake his claim on the outside line.
And Dean Mole has been the hidden driver in all of this race. He's just sat back and watched, and watched, and watched, and watched. Hasn't got involved in too much. And now he's sitting in a great spot to potentially steal away from all of these other guys who have been making noise all race long.
Oh, certainly. Dean Mole, one of the quiet achievers, I think, in the international division of the majors. We saw some stellar drives from him last season. This is another one of those, I think, in the making. All depends, though, on how well you guys hold up as the sun goes down and as we reach the final 30 laps of this race. They will get that once they cross the line next.
And Albert and Northway have closed back up again. So we said that we were back down to 7. We're back up to 9 again because they are pretty much in range. They can close up. It'll only take one lapped car to potentially close that train up. And you see Matthew Clote moving back to the inside, and that's brought them all together. So single file, the top 9, all in the one shot. That makes it a bit easier to work out. 30 laps remaining in the 2019 Majors Daytona 500. I get a funny feeling this could stay green. I've just ruined it now though by saying that probably. So on board with Northway. Just happy and content sitting on that outside, or sitting at the back of the line. Gavin Sadler leads. And Jason Martin. But it is not over in the slightest. This race still has the potential to absolutely go off.
So Gavin Sadler, well and truly at the front, this train. And this is the section of the race, Jay, where they are going to start thinking about discarding the teamwork section of all of this and go every man for himself in the last few laps.
I think everyone will start to wait till about 5 to go before they start to make their move, because they know from about then that if a caution comes out, that ends the race. So you get to that point with about 4 or 5 to go, you start to make your move, get yourself into the right position. Then from there, anything could happen. You never know what might unfold. But see this pack get into single file pretty much, but have a look at this pack back in the field.
Oh my goodness.
John King, James Robbie, Gary LaViolette, Riley Curtis all on the lead lap. In there as well is the 35 of D Palmer. You've also got Shane Bowen in there as well. Also got, who else is in that pack there? Dave Douglas as well, who's got back out on track. Got himself back up to 24th position. So there's still packs of racing going on, but we need to focus on the leaders. We are 26 laps to go.
We are indeed. And you see looming up behind those top two, Matt Muggleton and Eric Thorpe. They've been threats all race, as have Ryan Jones. So they'll be the ones that we're watching. We are not too sure about the leaders on the fuel side of things.
They're going to be real borderline, aren't they? We got told if you're the lead car, pretty much 36, maybe 37 laps. Well, Gavin Sadler, Jason Martin are going to have to do 39. They're going to be right on it. 40 laps if you're in the pack, if you're at the lead of the pack or out by yourself. 36, 37 maybe. So Sadler and Martin may even look to changing position halfway through this stint just for fuel conservation reasons.
Yeah. Almost driving to a number. One driver in front, the driver behind goes, okay, my number's good, let me get in front, and they swap positions. The tactics is a big, big part of it, even more so than on the roadside.
See Northway starting to make some moves around the outside. You also see Muggleton start to show the nose and move across a little. It's Northway now. Oh, it's a big slide through the middle of turns 1 and 2. And now we're starting to see the guys form up and work out where they want to be.
My goodness. Muggleton leading the charge on the outside. Following him is Northway, Jones and Clote.
Wondering if a few of the teams or a few of the drivers are starting to feel their cars behaving very, very differently now to what it was half an hour ago. The fuel load comes back off again, but the sun is basically behind the grandstand now. There's hardly any sunlight on the circuit at all. We're pretty much in shadow and cloud now, so it means that the track conditions are so much different to when we started the race around about 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Here comes Muggleton.
Oh, yeah, the first half of the track in complete shadow as Muggleton with the mother of all runs. That lap traffic helped him. He just nudges himself slightly into the lead, but Sadler with the momentum and the extra speed on the inside. He's grabbed that once again. Muggleton has been such a threat this race. All race long, he's been there or thereabouts.
Yep, he's looked really strong all race. Been willing to make moves, but not do anything silly or outrageous at the same time. It's been great to watch. Ryan Jones as well has been really, really good supporting act for whoever has been willing to try on the outside, but haven't quite been able to make it work. Again, if they can get an extra car out there, maybe an extra 2, if they can get 4 cars on the outside line, they may get something to work. I'll tell you who else is starting to get something to work. Jason Martin and Gavin Sadler. They're starting to link up. Bit of bump drafting happening now, good and proper. Before they were just happy maintaining the gap, but now they're actually starting to push.
Yeah, and this is the period of the race where that really comes into account, because one thing that you don't want is for your rivals to just creep up on you as those last couple of laps begin. So what they need to do is get that gap, make sure that they have a little bit of breathing room as they come into the dying laps of this one.
Muggleton just
still maintaining it on the outside.
You said the exact words I was about to say. He's just doing a great job holding that outside. Trying to side draft there with Eric Thorpe. He's let Thorpe go, but Robert Northway sitting in 4th. He was right at the back of the train. Bo Albert looks like he might be about to drop off from this train altogether, as does Matthew Clote. So these guys could be done. But at the front, Eric Thorpe, Matt Muggleton, Robert Northway, these 3 guys are still well and truly fighting over that last podium spot for now.
Yeah, after so many miles of racing, completely flat out at over 300 kilometers an hour, it's all coming down to this. These guys have still managed to stay right with each other. It's awesome to see. Muggleton dropping back slightly, but you can't help but think he is just gearing up for another run at it. Ryan Jones comes out behind him. This could potentially be, yeah, it'll certainly help. This could potentially be another run up towards the front of the field.
I'm just mesmerised by this race, Reece. Sorry for not talking too much. I'm absolutely mesmerised. I'm trying to work out in my head as well as just Eric Thorpe pushing Jason Martin along.
Have a look there. Matt Muggleton all the way to the back of that train, and Albert and Clote have well and truly dropped off the back of these guys. So Eric Thorpe on the back of Jason Martin. This shows you exactly what we're dealing with here. Get a really good look at that Chevrolet logo and the Kinetic Racing logo.
Oh, don't push! Don't push through the corner! Don't push through the corner!
Do not push through the corner.
No, just no need to do that at this stage of the race. Still way too many laps to go.
Don't do it. Certainly not the optimal way to go about things. If you're going to bump draft, do it on the straights. Eric Thorpe, once again, how loose is that car that he has? This really is mesmerizing, isn't it?
It is. It's almost hypnotic just watching, isn't it? Yeah. It's another bump coming through the tri-oval. Thorpe's definitely showing his intent. That's one thing about the bumping that's going on. He's showing his intent. He's showing that, hey, I want to come through.
It's Morse code.
It is. I think the guys will be understanding the Morse code and what that has actually done as well. It's brought the cars of Clote and Albert back up to the rear of this pack again. And Clote's going to the outside. Also going to the outside is Eric Thorpe. Now, we've seen how unsteady this car has been on the outside. We have now got 4 cars on the outside, 4 on the inside. We may now start to see this run to the finish.
Lap traffic though.
Oh.
Lap traffic though. We got D. Palmer, Dortonach, Jane Bowen, all there on the outside. They're going to come through as they begin lap 184. Oh, they've just managed to make it through. And Eric Thorpe now challenging well and truly for second.
Oh.
Almost a touch between Northway and Thorpe. They almost banged wheels in a straight line. It's insane. I cannot believe. Oh, goodness me, Dean Mole into the wall. Just about.
Held on.
That was a little bit of contact with Ryan Jones, but he did hold on. He did indeed.
16 to go. Who will it be?
Oh, it could be any one of these guys, Jay. It could be any one of these guys that takes the top step on the podium. We've seen some fantastic drives in this one from so many drivers, all of them in that one frame there. The battle for the lead has been amongst these guys. Northway has managed to make it up into third. Little bit loose on the bottom though. Thorpe's going to have to slot in behind Jones and Muggleton.
Yeah, Dean Mole from that little bit of contact has dropped right off. He's going to have to work with Matthew Cloak.
No, little bit of contact. Eric Thorpe. Whoa! How did they hold on to that? How did they hold on to that? Matt Muggleton and Eric Thorpe coming together. They've managed to keep it going.
Wow. We're still green.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm speechless, dude. Cannot even begin to describe what I'm feeling right now watching this. This is the most intense racing I've seen in ages. Look at Dean Mole. Look at that run that Matt Float now has. He's right back into this.
Yep. And Bo Albert, Matt Muggleton, they're done. They're all the way back down in this trade, so we continue on. Sadler, Martin, Northway, Jones, Thorpe, Cloak and Mole. 7 cars left in this fight to the end. 13 laps of racing left in this race.
Jones charging on the outside yet again. He's got Cloak to help him this time round, but again, it doesn't look like they have enough momentum. No one is willing to get up there and help them along.
There's not enough cars left in the train to help now. There's not enough people left to work that outside line. Only 7 in the lead pack. They've dropped Albert and Muggleton, so they'll drop into that secondary pack, which we saw earlier with James Robbie, Riley Curtis, and Gary LaViolette. So they'll be shuffled all the way back down the order.
Have a look at this. It's going to be on for the
3
lead.
wide here.
Look at this. Gavin Sadler slotting in there on the bottom.
Jason Martin back in the lead.
Start. Yep. And with that little bit of 3 wide action, that is a shuffle. Oh, goodness me. Every time I see a car twitch on the bottom, I tense up.
12 to go.
Northway just riding that bottom line. Ryan Jones as well, managing to keep it together just.
Have a look at Sadler start to close back up again. He dropped a fair way back. Almost was enough room earlier for Jones and Cloak to sneak in and steal that 3rd, 4th positions away. But Sadler's come back up again. And Eric Thorpe somehow still finds himself in amongst this lead pack. So we just see the 66 once again get past. Unfortunate for Daniel Stevens, but he's still going, which is great to see. Still have 23 of our 29 starters in this race out on track.
Yes, indeed. And once they come round to the line next, it will be 10 laps to go.
25 miles of racing to go in across the line. They're on board
And
with
it's going
Matthew
to
Clote.
go just like that.
Yep, it will. Oh no!
Oh, no!
Sadler!
Oh, goodness! Oh, goodness gracious me! There we go. That's going to be a caution, surely. Surely.
We're still green.
We're still green. How are we still green?
I don't know. But we're still green. Sadler's dropped off, Clote's dropped off, and then there were 5.
Oh my goodness.
We'll have another look because we need to see exactly what happened because we were on board at the time. But Sadler somehow saved that. But again, Eric Thorpe has made contact at the wrong spot on the track. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
Clote. Good save.
I mean, I think Thorpe was within his rights to do that. It did have a little bit of a car width of room there, and Sadler just coming down there. I think that would have been more of a racing incident than anything from my perspective.
Yeah, I think that one there was probably not as bad as some of the other ones we've seen throughout the day or throughout the night. So then there were 5. Albert and Muggleton are still battling amongst themselves. Clote has dropped a long way back. And Thorpe now finds himself in 3rd position.
Yes, indeed. And Ryan Jones subsumed by Dean Mole there. So they're running single file. Look out for Ryan Jones, though. About, I'd say, 4 laps from the end.
Yeah, I agree. It's looked really strong. Been the strongest of these 5 on the outside, but the issue he's got is he's got nobody to help. None of these guys, well, the 2 at the front won't want to help because they'll want the 1-2. Thorpe won't help because he has looked really unstable on the outside. And Mole, well, he'd just be happy to get the car home with how his race has played out. So I don't think he's going to get any help, but we could see something unfold in the next few laps. Matthew Clote's about to get consumed by Bo Albert and Matt Muggleton and continue that little fight amongst themselves.
Yeah, shame about those guys. I do think Matt Muggleton was one of my candidates for driver of the day, with the way he went about his business. Just unfortunate that he had to come together with Eric Thorpe there. Was it Thorpe that he came together with?
Yes, it was, yep.
Right. Don't want to be misblaming or misspeaking. But, you know, those incidents aside, I do think that Eric Thorpe has done a stellar job in maintaining his position in this race. There were plenty of occasions where he could have made a wrong move and slipped down the field, but he's managed to keep himself right in contention, which is pretty impressive.
Well, Thorpe, Mole and Jones have done a great job to get themselves in contention. We just see Cam Dance and Scott Kukas both get lapped for the 3rd time. Because they were in amongst that lead battle not all that long ago. So unfortunate to see those guys back in the field. Ryan Jones, here we go. 6 to go. He started to go out on the outside as you can hear the tyres absolutely scream for mercy. They did not want to be out there. He didn't want to be out high. Tucks back into line.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, you know that these drivers are going to guard the inside line at all costs.
Oh, of course.
A caution.
Okay. Bo Albert.
Are we going to finish under caution?
No, we'll get a 1-lap dash at the end, I believe. Maybe 2 laps.
We'll see. So what on earth happened to Bo Albert there to bring out the caution? Let's have a look.
Wow.
So he had a bit of an odd run out of the last turn there, and might it have been something that happened with Muggleton? We'll have to wait and see.
A little bit of contact between Muggleton and
just
trying to hold it.
bit. Yeah, he tried to save it a few times. Oh, big super drifto on the top. Amazing that no other car was involved in that. Well done, Bo. Though I think you might have been a bit of a passenger there.
Yeah, I don't think he was actually trying to save that. It just magically happened like that. So that means that we've got 12 back in contention now. Martin, Northway, 1st and 2nd. Thorpe, Mole, Jones, Muggleton and Clote, top 7. Bo Albert will rejoin in 8th position. Riley Curtis in 9th, still on the lead lap. Gavin Sadler's going to find himself in 10th, still on the lead lap. James Robbie also still on the lead lap. Gary LaViolette as well, also on the lead lap. 12 cars in contention. John King will get the lucky dog, I believe. That should leave us with 13 cars till the end.
What a quick it is going to be. Once this caution period is done, we'll only have a lap or two of racing to the finish.
I think we'll have 2. We're getting the 2 to go signal now because no one's really jumped in the pits. No one wants to because they don't want to give up track position at this stage of the race. What that will mean though from then is the next flag ends the race. So if we get a white flag, we will go to the end. If we don't get a caution, that will be the end of the race. We'll see. Hopefully we're getting 2 to go at this point. We're hopefully getting the 2 to go signal.
Nah, we won't be because the leaders are on lap 197. So it'll be 3 to go next time by.
I'm meaning 2 to go for under caution.
The end of the caution.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Be getting the 2 to go to 2 to green signal from the iRacing pace car.
True.
Where are we? Biggest positive from the night, 6 cautions. I think that's a good result. 6 cautions for the race in a field that's probably a lot more skilled than you would think looking at it on paper. I think there's a lot of drivers out there that are a lot more skilled at oval racing than they A, would like us to believe, or B, would like to admit themselves. But yeah, there's a lot of skilled oval drivers in Australia and New Zealand, so hopefully we can see the continued growth on the oval side of things in the AusNZ sim sphere.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Definitely.
You and I both love our oval racing, so we both love racing and watching oval racing, so it'd be good. So Jason Martin does the biggest and probably worst fake of the whole night. No one thought that he was even considering pitting.
Yeah, it was more just a drift over to the left than anything else, wasn't it?
Okay, so the lights are still on, pace car, so we will have 1 lap dash to the end.
All right.
Albert takes some tyres, and John King also takes tyres. Got nothing to lose being at the back of the line anyway. Might as well come in and do it.
That's exactly right. So, in the end, looks like our leaders will have had enough fuel to get to the end after all.
Yep, they won't have any issues in regards to fuel from now. They'll make it home. Interesting thing is, when we go green, there will not be any more cautions. So as soon as we get the green flag, they will wave the green and white together. We will not have another caution. So the drivers will have to really think about what they're doing from there. Have to be really careful not to push someone in the wrong way that could impact everyone else's race. So it's going to be an interesting restart. But Jason Martin would have to be the favourite at this point.
Yeah, I'd say so. He's done a very good job in getting off the line at these restarts. I think anyone's quite been able to match him, except for Matt Muggleton, who is almost out of contention here. Managed to find himself in 6th position, so he'll be starting on the 3rd row. When we get to the restart, there might be a chance that he could slip something in there once again.
Could find himself up a couple of spots, but it's pretty much going to come down to those front 4. Unless the front 4 wreck themselves, it's pretty much down to those 4. You'd think that Northway and Martin will try and work a way to link up and push to the end. Not as easy to do as it sounds though. It's 2 to go officially. We will go green with 1 flying lap of racing.
Yep, and it's going to be the longest and most slipstream-filled drag race you're likely to ever see to the line. It's not going to be a quarter mile, it's going to be 4Ks.
Interesting thing is on the front row, first row, Martin and Northway, teammates. Thorpe and Mole on the second row, teammates. So it's going to be an interesting restart. And then you've got Ryan Jones and Matt Muggleton on the third row. They have worked really well together all race. Not teammates, but they've worked together well all race long. They've been the two that have been willing to try something different, along with Matthew Clote, who's going to restart in 7th.
Indeed. Well, this is what it all comes down to. We're on lap 199 right now. We're going to come around to start lap 200 when the green flag flies. Is going to be an awesome sight to see these Gen 6 stock cars.
You already see Northway giving up half a car distance. He's like half a car length back, just trying to hope that he can time the run. They'll be communicating with each other to try and work it out. As you see Dean Mole give a little bit of a push to Robert Northway, and a great jump. Northway's going to be able to tuck down in front of Eric Thorpe here, I think.
Yep, he's going to do that.
Yeah, it's a good move.
Right away. That is exactly what they needed to do. So we've only got one lap of racing to go. The final lap here in the International Majors Daytona 500. Who will it be? You can see Dean Mole, Matt Muggleton and Riley Curtis trying to set up a charge on the outside line, but I don't think they'll be able to get it done. Eric Thorpe going up into the middle there. I don't think that's going to help him much, but Dean Mole making his way past into 3rd as they come into NASCAR 4, but they're losing momentum there. That's going to be.
Here comes Ryan Jones. Muggleton.
Oh my goodness, there we go. One final wreck there, but it's not going to be a caution that comes out. It's going to be Jason Martin and Robert Northway making it a
Eric Thorpe.
big crash at the end.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Jason Martin, Robert Northway, and Ryan Jones picks up 3rd. His car is stopped in the infield. James Robbie's got back for 4th, but we need to re-evaluate how that ended. Somehow, Bo Albert's finished in 5th.
Oh, man. As they were going through the trioval, my goodness. CPR kart parts replay. Once again, we're going to see what happened.
The first part of this starts with contact between Dean Mole, Matt Muggleton and Matthew Clote. Huge impact. And then you see Ryan Jones on the outside. And then there's contact between Jones. And he crosses the line backwards. James Robbie, Bo Albert both cross the line and wreck after the line. Eric Thorpe limps across the line. Matt Muggleton crosses the line damaged as well as Gavin Sadler. And Dean Mole limps home for 11th. Wowee.
Wow. What a finish. And that, I think, we couldn't have asked for a more drama-filled, action-packed race than that, as we see Jason Martin celebrating with burnouts.
I don't think we could have had a more deserving winner. He's had the best pace. One little mistake, which cost him a whole heap of time in that pit entry, those green flag pit stops. But the drive after that to get back to the front of the field was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Top of the class there for Jason Martin. And we have to give a shout out to Robert Northway making his way up. There's so many drivers to thank to really shout out here. Matt Muggleton too, but those are the unofficial results up on screen. Martin, Northway, Jones, Robbie and Albert, your top 5. Thorpe, Muggleton and Sadler rounding out the top 8, and rounding out the top 10, John King and Riley Curtis.
Then in 11th position, Dean Mole did limp at home. Unfortunate end to his race. Gary Laviolette in 12th. Matthew Clote, last car on the lead lap, finishes in 13th. Simon Mazzomo and Cameron Dance finish in 14th and 15th. With Scott Kukas in 16th position, 3 laps down, same as Dance. D. Palmer, Dutnak, Sheridan and Fox rounding out the top 20.
Starting to come into the less fortunates of the race here. Shane Bowen also 8 laps down. Daniel Stevens and Dave Douglas classified behind him, and Will Leslie. And then our retirements, Daryl Hockey, Chris Purnell, John Sorensen, and Roger Clark and Drew Lalonde. Real shame for those guys. A lot of them having quite the amount of potential there. But my goodness, what an event we have had. And the top 3 will be coming in for their driver interviews presently.
Whew, get your breath for a second, Reese. What a race.
Yeah. We need a moment, don't we? Oh my
That was
goodness.
incredible. That was an amazing race from start all the way through. We had that amazing first 10 laps, which everyone really shuffled for position. We had that caution from there. And then that 75 lap stint where we were green flag pit stops. That was incredible. And then that last 100 as well were just epic as well. Last 75 even. It was an incredible race from start to finish and so much strategy. Deserving winner though. That's the best bit.
Absolutely. Out of all the Daytona 500s I've called, this being the only one, it was pretty good. We've got Jason Martin in the commentary box with us. Congratulations on the win, Jason. That was a really hectic one. Were you expecting that much green flag running?
Woohoo! I just won the Daytona 500.
Yeah, boy.
You did.
Yeah, mate, I was expecting it to be pretty green because it's pretty hard to pass on the outside, so most people will play it safe and just hang low, so you normally get a lot of green flag stops now.
You did say most. There were some guys there who tried the adventurous outside line here. But yeah, it didn't really seem to work out too well for them. The teamwork between you guys at Misfit was awesome to behold.
Yeah, it sure was. They did an awesome effort. We were probably the only team that could pass on the outside where everyone else had no chance.
Yeah, certainly. Well, aside from that, I mean, you've raced in Daytona 500s before, but this one must really be special, not just with the day-night transitions making it ever more like the real race going into the night, but to be able to come home not just with the win but with a 1-2 as well for your team.
Yeah, absolutely stoked with that. Always got to rely on a bit of luck at Daytona, but it was a bloody good effort by the team.
Certainly was. Who would you like to thank, Jason Martin?
Got to thank New Zealand Auto Super Shops for sponsoring us, the boys at Misfit, SimSpeed for the broadcast, and of course the guys running the majors putting on an awesome event.
And you guys put on an awesome show for us as well. That's Jason Martin, your race winner here in the Majors Daytona 500. We will go to second place, Robert Northway. Robert, were you expecting to come second after all the dramas you had in the first half?
I was still quite confident. I knew I had a good car, so I was still quite confident I could get my way back up there.
We appear to have lost you for a second there, Robert. Do you still have us? Okay.
I think I've fixed it.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep, we got you again, mate. We got you.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely didn't. I kind of was still confident I could get up there. As the race wore on, I started realising I did have quite a quick car, so I just held back until the last pit stop and then decided to go racing.
Well, going racing you did. Do you think you could have won that if you played your cards right?
If it wasn't my teammate that was in the lead, I probably would have had a real crack at it, but I was going to make sure we were going to get the 1-2.
Thinking of the team there, Robert. Well, this sets it up really well for the rest of your Majors campaign after this fantastic finish. I mean, this championship, it's always about who can adapt to the most cars the best, and you had some really good runs in the Majors last year. This is obviously going to inject quite a bit of positivity into the Misfit camp.
Oh, definitely. I think there'll be a bit of a buzz going into Sebring. I think we'll all be eager to get in on the action there.
Yes, indeed. Well, Robert, thank you very much for joining us. Also, if Misfits, same as Jason Martin, your second place finisher there. We're going to go to third now. Ryan Jones. Goodness me, Ryan, crossing the finish line backwards. How did that feel?
I was just praying I was going to get across the line, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like there was a lot of drama happening throughout the field in that one. You were one of the guys to try that outside line many times during the race, but it never quite worked out for you.
Yeah, well, it's just tough to get that outside going, and maybe if I had a couple of teammates with me in that race that we could work together and get it going, but unfortunately I didn't, and all the guys that I had working with me with alliances and stuff had all got wrecked out early, so yeah, it's pretty hard.
Oh, that is unfortunate, but still, you managed to get yourself a podium in the Daytona 500, so you must be satisfied with how today has gone.
Yeah, I'm absolutely stoked with that result. I think coming into it, I just wanted to finish the damn thing. 200 laps, bit of an achievement in itself at Daytona. And yeah, I'm absolutely.
Awesome stuff. Well, definitely think that it sets up the rest of your majors campaign pretty well.
Yeah, it certainly does. Not sure how many more majors races I'm going to do this season, but after that result, I might give a few a crack and see what I can do.
Certainly hope to see you back at Sebring, Ryan. Before we let you go, any shout outs?
Got to give shout out and a big thank you to the sponsors, Harvey Bay Auto Glass, and all our other sponsors, Gamesman, Pagnian, Next Level Racing, all those guys, and also the Stephen Latmore, Tyler Blackburn for letting me race this race in the middle of the Bathurst 12 hour.
Oh, yes, of course. They're still going on there. How are they going?
I think they might have crashed, so
Ah,
not too well.
okay. Well, commiserations for that. Thank you very much for joining us, Ryan. Hopefully, we will see you at Sebring. That was Ryan Jones, your third place finisher. My goodness, Jay, what a race this was.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal race, an awesome night of racing, and we're both absolutely exhausted. I don't know how the drivers are feeling. We're out of breath. That ending was absolutely insane. The entire race was insane, but that ending just topped it off. It just showcased the race perfectly. We got the finish that we wanted. We wanted a grandstand finish. We may not have wanted the wrecking, but the finish, in that it was a grandstand finish, was awesome.
Yeah, and you have to say the amount of green flag running we had in this one was certainly something to behold, and it really sets up an expectation for the rest of the oval races this season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next oval race, which I think is a short track at Bristol. So, short track, the late models at Bristol. I think I'm fairly sure it is anyway, which is in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. So that should be a really, really good one. A different sort of racing from what we had last year, and a different sort of racing from what is predominant in the AusNZ side of things, which is what we love about the majors. It's always something different and something that challenges the drivers in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% right there. And if you want to be part of the majors, you just need to go to pacificmajors.com. That's where you can sign up for this league. It's we're not exactly starving for numbers at the moment, but always welcoming new drivers. So really fantastic to see the amount of attention that we've got for this one, and we thank you very much for watching as well. The next round of the series is going to be the classic 2 hours of Sebring on the weekend of the 3rd of March, start of March there. Racing the Camel GT cars, the Nissan GTP and the Audi GTO at Sebring International Raceway. But the fun never stops on SimSpeed TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. You can catch us over on our channel and here on the iRacing Esports Network. Basically, 5 out of every 7 days. Monday night V8 Supercars at Snetterton. Wednesday, we've got Rallycross at Atlanta Motor Speedway and Sprint Series Australasia at Interlagos. Then we've got the Oceanic F3 Championship on Thursday and the West End Mazda Australian Online Supercar Championship at Montreal on Friday. So if you want to catch more awesome racing, be sure to check that out. But from us, for now, it is goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this fantastic International Majors Daytona 500.